Chapter 188. Screech. The golden rock instantly grew larger and let out a sharp screech that numbed everyone's eardrums. Many of the mortals were bleeding from their 7 orifices. The golden rock's eyes flashed with a frightening cold light as if it had a mind of its own. Its wings were like the clouds in the sky, suppressing a large area of the void. As it flapped its wings, rolling hot winds swept in all directions. The rocks cracked, the grass and trees burned, and billowing black smoke rose. In the blink of an eye, the crimson golden rock had already waved its sharp giant claws at the Akalanatha Buddha statue. With a deafening bang, the water droplets on the surface of the lake shot up 10 meters into the air. It was as if several explosives had exploded at the same time. A huge mushroom cloud with a radius of 10 meters rose above the small island. Buildings collapsed and countless bricks and giant trees were sent flying in all directions. Then, with the island as the center, the scorching heat waves spread out like ripples, directly pushing out a kilometer away. Whoosh! Rumble! The surface of the lake seemed to be boiling as monstrous waves rose up. On the surface of the lake, a few police patrol speedboats were thrown high into the air and then fell heavily, capsizing instantly. After waiting for a full minute, the island and the lake finally calmed down. Everyone was splashed by the monstrous waves and many small fish and shrimps kept jumping under their feet. The island was still covered in smoke and dust. It was a blur and no one could see anything clearly. This is a battle between grandmasters. Forming the Akalanatha with a stomp of his feet and forming the crimson rock with a wave of his hand. This is too shocking. Many martial artists sighed with lingering fear. If they were on the battlefield, they would probably be torn into pieces. As for the mortals, their hearts were about to jump out of their throats. They felt dizzy and their minds were wandering. They felt that this trip had been worth it. Who won? Someone asked. Yes. Who won? That was the biggest question in everyone's mind. Suddenly, no one said a word and they all looked carefully at the small island. When the smoke and dust slowly dissipated, everything was settled. The crowd could vaguely make out that Hua Qingtian and Lin Zhenyu were still standing face to face like 2 towering peaks. Old Senior Hua is still standing, he won. A martial artist was stunned for a moment, then raised his arms and shouted in joy. Master has won. Master has defeated the president of the Martial Arts Alliance. The many disciples of the Hua clan cheered and jumped up and down. Congratulations, Elder Hua. Congratulations, Elder Hua. Elder Hua's cultivation is strong. He deserves to be the president. From now on, Hua Xia will honor Elder Hua in the martial arts world. If you have any orders, we will not hesitate to go through fire and water to fulfill them. For a time, many martial artists and tycoons stood up and rushed to salute with their fists clasped, congratulating and praying to show their loyalty. Unexpectedly, a voice full of regret and bitterness was transmitted to the ears of everyone present. Today, I, Hua Qingtian, have lost. What? What? What's going on? All the martial artists widened their eyes and were dumbfounded. They were petrified on the spot. Elder Hua, this is a serious matter. Can you not be too modest? Wei Feilong's face was pale, and he said in a trembling voice, you and Lin Zhenyu are both standing and not injured. At most, it's a draw. How can you admit defeat? Sai, look at this, Hua Qingtian rolled up the sleeve of his right arm. Crimson lines in the shape of flames intertwined on his arm. They were as red as blood, and it was a shocking sight. This. Everyone present was stunned. The old man's Akalanatha art suppressing 10,000 demons didn't hurt Lin Zhenyu at all. But his fire-type genuine qi invaded the old man's body. Although Hua Qingtian didn't want to admit it, he was a straightforward person. He smiled bitterly and sighed, so, I lost. For a moment, the whole place was silent. Many martial artists lowered their heads like quails. No one dared to provoke him anymore. Even Wei Fei and Zhao Yuankun lowered their heads. And, Brother Lin, if I'm not wrong, you only used 50% of your cultivation. Hua Qingtian sighed deeply. His face gradually recovered its calmness, as if he had gone through hardships and now returned to the sunny sky. At this time, his heart was not without waves. This calmness was not easy to come by. Elder Hua, you have a good eye. The Kuanpeng has 6 changes, and I only used the weakest, the first change. Lin Zhenyu smiled proudly. The people on the shore were even more frightened. Deep in their eyes, there was deep despair and sorrow. The simplest change of the Kuanpeng's 6 changes could suppress Hua Qingtian. Was he still human? If the 6 changes were used, who could resist it? Hearing this, Hua Qingtian's body trembled slightly. His face was dejected. He smiled bitterly and shook his head. He sighed in his heart, I'm afraid that in the whole world, only he is qualified to compete with you. After pondering for a long time, Hua Qingtian recovered from the shock. He clasped his hands and said bitterly, after 20 years of hard work, Great Grandmaster Lin is probably only 1 step away from the immortal state. The old man accepts his defeat wholeheartedly. He will reflect on his mistakes in seclusion for the rest of his life and no longer care about the affairs of Jianghu. Wei Feilong, Zhao Yuankuan, and the others all had sorrowful expressions on their faces, as if they were a fox mourning the death of a rabbit. Hua Qingtian was known as the Pillar of the Central Plains. He had been famous in Huaxia for decades. Now, he had lost to Lin Zhenyu. It was such a pity that he died in such a sad way. Although Great Grandmaster Hua lost to the old man, he is a man of his word. He is a man of his word. He has not lost the demeanor of a martial artist of our generation. Hua Qingtian nodded in satisfaction. Then, he looked at the heroes with a dignified gaze and said lightly, everyone should also keep their promises, right? The old man is going to be the president of the Martial Arts Alliance. Do you accept it? These words were said lightly, but in the ears of the crowd, it was like a clap of thunder. They were so shocked that they trembled all over. Their blood boiled in their chests, and they couldn't even stand steadily. Everyone looked at each other. They were still hesitating, but no one dared to make a sound of doubt. He killed Li Tuofeng, a great grandmaster on the divine list, with 1 strike and 1 palm. He suppressed Hua Qingtian with the weakest move of the Kuanpeng's 6 changes, although they didn't agree with this person's character and identity, in terms of strength, who dared to not accept it? If the Hong family doesn't submit, no one can cure the fire poison in Hichu's body. We can't let the Hong family die out. In the crowd, Hong Junshin's expression kept changing. Finally, he smiled bitterly and said, Elder Lin's strength is incredible. He is almost at the immortal realm. The Hong family in Yi province will submit to him. We will respect Elder Lin. He was the first to kneel on the ground. Hong Hichu and the other members of the Hong family were stunned for a moment, but they also knelt on the ground. We submit. Zhang Wendao also led the members of the 5 tiger-breaking blades to kneel on the ground. They lowered their heads and submitted. We submit, no one dares to disobey your orders. Then, the Mo family in Lingnan, the Tang sect in Chuan, the Wang family in Luoyang, and many other martial artists knelt on the ground. On one hand, they were afraid of Hua Qingtian's power. If they dared to resist, they would be dead on the spot. On the other hand, they were controlled by him. Their disciples had been poisoned by the fire poison. Even if they wanted to fight, they were afraid of breaking the vases. Fear seemed to be contagious. Immediately, hundreds of martial artists, more than 200 iron body experts, and dozens of internal strength experts knelt down on the ground after a difficult mental struggle, cowering like quails. Guild Master Wei, Family Head Zhao, do you want to spar with the old man as well? Good, the old man is very pleased. In the end, only Wei Feilong, Zhao Yuankuan and a few other transcendent grandmasters remained. Then get on the stage. Lin Zhenyu let out an explosive shout, his gaze shooting towards the crowd like a divine lightning snake. Everyone's heart raced. They were extremely uneasy and felt a sharp pain in their heads. Some of them even had blood oozing out of their ears. Words come out of the mouth and fire lightning from the eyes. It interferes with reality. He is almost at the immortal state. We submit. For a moment, Wei Feilong, Zhao Yuankuan, and the others were also frightened. Even if they were unwilling, they had to keep quiet and kneel on the ground. At this time, many martial artists and rich people in the secular world knelt on the ground. Only Tang Linglong was still standing there. She raised her chin high like a crane in a flock of chickens. She was very conspicuous. Xiao Tang, are you crazy? Kneel down. Zhao Yuankuan turned around and scolded. Although everyone looked submissive, in fact, many people were paying attention to Tang Linglong in the crowd. She relied on the power of Kang Taechu to fight with the heroes in the Hall of Brotherhood. She was so eloquent that many overlords were embarrassed. Seeing this scene, everyone sneered in their hearts. Tang Linglong, do you think you can look down on the world just because your master is Kang Taechu? Now Kang Taechu's enemy is here, and he is so powerful. You are doomed. Looking at the disdainful eyes of the crowd, Tang Linglong's pretty face showed boundless arrogance and she raised her chin higher. Lin Zhenyu also saw this scene, but he was not angry. Instead, he laughed and said with interest, "Little girl, it seems that you are the female disciple of Kang Taechu. Others are kneeling, but you don't kneel. Aren't you afraid of me?" "Why should I be afraid of you?" Tang Linglong smiled lightly. Her face was as calm as an ancient scripture, and she said indifferently, "Your cultivation is not bad, but compared to my master, it is like comparing a straw dog to a lion. The gap is too big. I only worship heaven, earth, my parents, and my master. Why should I kneel?" As soon as she said this, many people were stunned and their eyes almost fell to the ground. They could not believe it. Is this girl crazy? She is crazy, just like her master. She is too crazy. She has no idea how high the sky is and how thick the earth is. She must die. Many martial artists' faces were full of ridicule. Humph, let her be. Now she has met someone who can suppress her. She and her master are the enemies of the world. It has nothing to do with us. Senior Lin, please punish her. There were also Zhang Mingli and other figures of the younger generation who were secretly gloating over her misfortune and quickly distancing themselves from her. Tang Linglong, don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and kneel down to Senior Lin and admit your mistake. His cultivation is heaven-defying, and he is very tolerant. He won't argue with a child like you. Wei Feilong scolded again. In fact, he did not want to see her die. Haha, little girl, you are so brave. You are worthy of being Kang Taechu's disciple. Your courage is commendable. Lin Zhenyu laughed heartily and said coldly, however, courage is courage. In this world, strength is everything. When I return to Huaxia, there are two people I must kill. One is Yi Zhantian, the god of war, and the other is your master, Kang Taechu. He slowly raised his dry red palm and hit Tang Linglong from afar. He said in a low voice, "Then, you go first. Be your master's companion on the road to the netherworld." A long flaming snake was about 10 meters long and as thick as a bucket. It directly rushed toward Tang Linglong. Moreover, the flaming snake was as fast as lightning. The distance of a mile was covered in a flash. The next moment, it arrived at the shore and rushed toward Tang Linglong. At this time, many martial artists' eyes were full of despair. They shook their heads helplessly and thought that no one could save her. Lin Zhenyu, you are a martial arts master. Are you still a man to bully such a little girl? I, Kang Taechu, am here to kill you. At this time, a voice came. It was very low at first, but gradually, it was like a dragon's roar and a phoenix's cry. It was like a tiger's roar in the forest. It was like a rock soaring 90,000 miles in the sky. It was like a hurricane sweeping 10 kilometers. Chapter 189. The entire water manor trembled and the water surface within a few hundred meters of Poyang Lake began to ripple. The wind was so strong that many martial artists were thrown off their feet. A powerful sound wave blasted onto the fire serpent. The fire serpent writhed unwillingly before it finally shattered into pieces. Is this the power of Kang Taechu? Many of the cultivators present were so shocked that their faces turned pale. He must be at least of the transcendent state. Zhao Yuankuan and Wei Feilong exchanged a look and saw the disbelief on each other's faces. His breath was like a gust of wind and his voice was like a dragon's roar. How powerful must he be to be able to destroy Lin Zhenyu's fire serpent so easily? Many people had thought that Jiang Tian had defeated Mo Haoxiong and Hong Tianzhao by sheer luck. After all, it was rare to reach the transcendent state before the age of 30. How could he reach the transcendent state so easily? Many people even thought that Jiang Tian had reached the phenomenal state, but they had overestimated him. They believed that he was only at the initial transcendent state. But now, they discovered that they had actually seriously underestimated Jiang Tian's strength. They had simply failed to recognize Mount Tai. Kang Taechu, you really are something. You didn't disappoint the old man. Lin Zhenyu's voice rumbled like thunder as he looked at the sky above the water manor. In fact, he was shocked that Jiang Tian was able to destroy his fire serpent True Qi with only the dragon's roar. Jiang Tian's power was comparable to that of an immortal state warrior. How dare you attack my disciple? Today, you will die. Suddenly, a 10-meter deep hole appeared on the water surface. The water was so deep that one could see the bottom. Many speedboats and boats swayed and fell into the raging waves. A white figure appeared with his hands behind his back. He landed on the water like a deity descending from the heavens. Kang Taechu, you are finally here. Good, the old man has been waiting for you for a long time. Lin Zhenyu took a step forward, creating fiery lotuses with each step. Like a demon from hell, he landed on the surface of the water 100 meters away from Jiang Tian. The fire lotus under his feet swallowed and spat continuously, scorching the lake water until it was boiling hot. Streams of white mist rolled and surged, making him look like an immortal. Lin Zhenyu, my disciple said that you're like a grass dog, and that's already praising you. Compared to me, you're just an ant. If you know what's good for you, break one of your arms and get out of Huaxia. I'll spare your life. The space beneath Jiang Tian's feet twisted and rippled like water. It was as if he was controlling the space with magic. Kang Taechu, you are indeed arrogant. Moreover, you do have the right to be arrogant. You are so young, but you are already at the peak of the transcendent state, much more powerful than Li Camel Feng and Huaqing Tian. In the future, you will definitely achieve great things. Unfortunately, you met me in advance. Lin Zhenyu's face was filled with anger and malice. He ground his teeth and said viciously, the old man returned to Huaxia because he wanted to dominate the martial arts world. Now that I've met such a strong opponent, how could I miss this opportunity? I'll kill you and use you as a stepping stone for me to challenge Yi Zhantian. Yi Zhantian sneered. Kang Taechu is indeed at the peak of the transcendent state. Hearing Lin Zhenyu's judgment, a storm rose in everyone's hearts. He was less than 30 years old and had reached the peak of the transcendent state. He was even more powerful than the war god Yi Zhantian. It was unbelievable. It was as shocking as Mars crashing into Earth. We have underestimated him. Huaqing Tian, Zhao Yuankuan, Wei Feilong and the other grandmasters were shocked. Their hearts were filled with a mixture of emotions and sadness. They thought about how many cultivation resources they had used to reach the transcendent state in their 40s and 50s. However, Jiang Tian had done it at such a young age. Kang Taechu was a living legend. Compared to him, they were so weak. Hong Junshan, Zhang Wendao, and the others who wanted to take revenge on Jiang Tian earlier felt their hairs stand on end, and they felt extremely uneasy and terrified. The peak of the transcendent state has to reach the immortal state. Once a martial artist reaches the immortal state, he becomes an ant. This was a popular saying in the martial arts world. In other words, reaching the immortal state was a qualitative change in the process of martial arts cultivation. Once a martial artist reached the immortal state, he or she would be close to the level of a deity. No matter how powerful a martial artist was, he or she was just flesh and blood. How could they have the right to blaspheme a deity? They would be trampled to death like ants. If he dares to lower himself to our level, we will all die. As for Zhang Mingli, Zhao Hao, Hong Hichu, and the others who had conflicts with Jiang Tian, they were so shocked and ashamed that they wished they could find a hole to hide in. Master is so powerful. Tang Linglong's face was filled with admiration as she looked at the peerless figure on the water surface. However, Jiang Tian, who was facing Lin Zhenyu, did not care about these discussions at all. His expression was calm. Lin Zhenyu, you think too highly of yourself. Who do you think you are? You want to use me as a stepping stone? Jiang Tian sneered and his eyes were full of contempt. Finally, he made his first attack. Take this. Boom. A translucent true essence fist the size of a round table was pushed out horizontally. Wherever the giant fist passed, 2 white waves a few meters high were plowed on the surface of the lake. The huge waves were pushed to both sides like overturned soil, and the entire lake was agitated. What a powerful punch! I, Lin Zhenyu, am willing to respect you as the most powerful martial artist in the mainland. Lin Zhenyu's face was full of admiration. Then, fire poison true qi shot out from all the pores on his body and his sleeves fluttered. Streaks of red poisonous fire genuine qi rose to the sky. They were as hot as magma and boiled the lake water. Fish and shrimps floated on the surface of the lake. The violent and abundant flame genuine qi reached up to 10 meters high, as if a red cliff had emerged from the water surface. Lin Zhenyu's eyes were filled with coldness as he stared at Jiang Tian. He waved his hands and punched violently. Kuan Pang 6 variants, second variant. Flood Dragon variant. Boom. Crack. The poisonous fire genuine qi changed and formed a translucent flood dragon with the power of heaven and earth. It roared angrily, shook its head and wagged its tail, stirring up a pool of wind and rain and steaming white fog. It rushed towards Jiang Tian's giant fist. Dong! When the giant fist and the flood dragon collided, an earth-shattering explosion rang out on the surface of the lake, setting off huge waves that were a few meters tall. The raging waves crashed against the shore, directly drowning half of the manor. Countless fish and crabs at the bottom of the lake were blown up and fell on the shore. They were all steamed by the high temperature. Is this still the power of a human? Who is the stronger one? Countless people looked back at the lake in horror as they fled to higher ground, their hearts palpitating in fear. When the fog dissipated, people found that Jiang Tian was still standing there. Lin Zhenyu had retreated more than 10 meters, and there were specks of blood on his chest. Kang Taechu has gained the upper hand. Many people were dumbfounded and couldn't believe what they had seen. However, what surprised them even more was what happened next. Lin Zhenyu, you can withstand one of my punches. That's impressive. But now, I will kill you in 3 moves. Jiang Tian's calm voice echoed across the lake. It was powerful and full of confidence. Everyone was dumbfounded by his words. They couldn't believe it. Even though Jiang Tian was at the peak of the transcendent state and was more powerful than Lin Zhenyu, it wouldn't be that easy for him to win. Transcendent grandmasters were all physically strong, invulnerable to all spells and indestructible by fire and water. Therefore, a battle between grandmasters would usually last for a long time. It would be difficult to determine the winner even if they fought for days and nights. For example, 20 years ago, the battle between Yi Zhantian and Xiao Bin, the old grandmaster from the northeast, on the Heaven Lake of the Whitehead Mountain lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. The battle between Yi Zhantian and Lin Zhenyu also lasted for half a day. However, Kang Taechu was a bit too arrogant. Very well, Kang Taechu, you are as arrogant as a dragon. What a surprise! Martial artists of my generation should have this kind of bearing and self-confidence that looks down on everything under the heavens. Lin Zhenyu had suffered a small loss and was criticized by Jiang Tian. However, he was not angry. Instead, he was overjoyed. His battle intent surged like a tidal wave. After that, he struck out over a dozen punches in succession. This time, he wasn't as ferocious and overbearing as before. Instead, he was simple and majestic, filled with the aura of time. He was like an ancient immortal who had developed a fist technique. At times, he was like an old tree with its roots, at times, he was like a fish swimming in shallow water, and at times, he was like an eagle soaring into the sky. Kun Peng's 6 variants, change of wind and thunder. He tried his best. 2 streams of fire poison true chi surged like wind and thunder, stirring up the wind and the rain. They circled behind Jiang Tian and swept toward him. Kun Peng's 6 variants, change of mountain and sea. He continued to use all of his power. His face was red, veins were bulging on his forehead, and his hair was flying in the air. His battle intent was surging like a boiling sea. He hugged the void with both hands, then pushed them forward and smashed them down. A stream of fire poison true chi as heavy as a mountain broke through the air. It was as if Gonggong had hit Mount Buzhou. It crushed the surface of the lake and created a huge pit with a radius of 10 meters. Kun Peng's 6 variants, change of sun and moon. His red sleeves fluttered wildly as he tried to use all of his power to kill his opponent. In the end, he let out a hoarse roar. The transformation of sun and moon was his masterpiece. The void above the lake shook and blurred. A cloud of fire poison true chi lit up the sky like a rising sun. A cloud of fire poison true chi condensed into a bright moon, emitting rays of clear light. It suppressed Jiang Tian. At this moment, everyone present saw a scene that they would never forget for the rest of their lives. On the calm lake, a giant sun and a moon appeared at the same time. The sun and the moon appeared at the same time, and the tide was surging. Ha, Kang Te Chu, I thought that after knowing the truth of the divine realm, only Yi Zhantian could keep pace with me in Huaxia. I didn't expect that a junior like you would appear and be on par with me. This is really the happiest thing in my life. After using the strongest 3 transformations, Lin Zhenyu stood proudly on the head of the tide and laughed. Kang Te Chu, it's a pity that you're still a little bit weaker. I've absorbed the fire poison true chi for 20 years. Coupled with the Kun Peng's 6 transformations, I'm so powerful that I can even kill someone who is half a step away from the divine realm. The Kun Peng's 6 transformations was originally an extremely powerful skill. Moreover, Lin Zhenyu sat at the mouth of the volcano and spent 20 years absorbing the fire poison true chi of thousands of degrees to further strengthen it. It could be said that he was full of confidence. His current strength was comparable to the divine realm, which was more than enough to defeat Yi Zhantian 20 years ago. Too powerful. When Lin Zhenyu began to use the strongest 3 transformations of Kun Peng, everyone was stunned and shocked. They felt that he was no longer a human being, but a god who could control the clouds and the rain with one hand. The water in Poyang Lake was stirred up by him, and the water vapor was rising. Chapter 190. Alas, Lin Zhenyu's use of true chi has reached the point of perfection. He can summon wind and thunder with a wave of his sleeves, toss mountains, and fill the sea with a wave of his hand, and summon the sun and the moon together. If I were to face him, I'm afraid I would die on the spot. Zhao Yuankuan's eyes were filled with fear as if he had seen a ghost. Many martial arts masters who were watching the battle all nodded in agreement. Those who had reached the transcendent state or half-step to the transcendent state felt the most keenly. It was extremely difficult to condense chi, but someone like Lin Zhenyu, who could use true chi freely and create such a myriad of phenomena, was many levels higher than them. The younger generation of martial artists, on the other hand, were sweating profusely and feeling dizzy. They only felt that everything in front of them had exceeded their imagination of martial arts. That Kang Te Chu is also not bad. The sound wave attack broke the fire poison snake, and his punch was invincible and pushed in all directions. I'm afraid that ordinary grandmasters would have to retreat in front of him. Wei Feilong sighed deeply. He now understood that Jiang Tian had relied on his own strength to kill Mo Haoxiong and Hong Tianzhao, the two martial Dao masters. It was not a fluke or some kind of scheme. Brother Feilong is right. Hua Qingtian, who had returned to his seat, nodded, but there was a trace of a bitter smile on his face. Kang Te-Chu could reach the peak of the transcendent state before the age of 30, which can be said to be a cultivation genius that appears once in 100 years. Unfortunately, although his cultivation is on par with Lin Zhenyu, his cultivation method is always a little inferior. This is the fire poison true qi. At this time, he had already felt the horror of the fire poison. It was like a fire snake drilling in his meridians and acupoints. The pain was unbearable, as if he was in the furnace of purgatory. And even with the surging true qi of the transcendent state, he could not suppress it at all. As soon as these words came out, it was like a hammer hitting the nail on the head. Everyone was speechless. They had always wanted Jiang Tian to die. But at this moment, there was a strong sense of regret and unwillingness in everyone's hearts. In fact, Lin Zhenyu was the one who truly ran amok. 20 years ago, he invaded Huaxia and continuously challenged schools. He was invincible, and the number of famous martial artists he killed was at least 80 if not 100. Come to think of it, Kang Te-Chu had never taken the initiative to provoke anyone. There was a reason for all the killings. Compared to Lin Zhenyu, he was simply too kind. But such a talented young grandmaster, had he died just like that? Sigh, what a pity. If we wait another 10 years, he will definitely be able to suppress Lin Zhenyu. Zhao Yuankuan also shook his head and smiled bitterly. Many cultivators felt their hearts sink. Such a martial arts prodigy that hadn't appeared for 100 years, was he going to end up in such a miserable way? The old man doesn't want to watch anymore. Wei Feilong smiled bitterly and shook his head. He stood up and prepared to leave. Zhang Mingli, Zhao Hao, and the others all shook their heads and sighed. 10 meters, 5 meters, 3 meters. Soon, the Kuan Peng's strongest 3 transformations attacked Jiang Tian almost at the same time. The wind and thunder transformation rushed left and right, the mountain and sea transformation smashed down from the sky, and the sun and moon transformation rampaged. The strongest 3 transformations completely enveloped Jiang Tian. Everyone could only see a tragic flame and white smoke rising. They couldn't see Jiang Tian clearly. It seemed that Jiang Tian would be smashed into meat paste and burned to ashes in the blink of an eye. Unexpectedly, at this time, a voice full of contempt came from the depths of the flame. Lin Zhenyu, is this all you've got? That really disappoints me. Everyone looked over in horror. They saw a white azure dragon, more than 10 meters long, like jade or crystal, being evolved by Jiang Tian. Today, I have the azure dragon in my hand, I can swallow the sun and moon. Following Jiang Tian's low shout, the azure dragon suddenly rose into the air, opened its bloody mouth, and suddenly inhaled. Whoosh! The white jade dragon swallowed the flames, which were hot enough to incinerate gold and boil iron, without leaving a single drop behind. The high-temperature true qi was swallowed by the white azure dragon like rivers flowing into the sea, as if it was a sweet drink for it. Under everyone's horrified gaze, the azure dragon circled around Jiang Tian's back for a while and then retreated into his body. Jiang Tian took a step forward lazily and said with a smile, "Come on, Lin Zhenyu, spray some more fire for my little dragon to feed." Lin Zhenyu was very powerful. His spirit, body, and true qi had all reached the peak of the transcendent state. He could even use and control the qi of heaven and earth, which was enough to rival an early-stage qi refinement cultivator. His Kuan Peng's 3 transformations was powerful enough to crush an armored vehicle and burn a 1,000-pound rock into ashes. Even a peak-stage transcendent grandmaster would die in a second if he were to be caught in the blast. Unfortunately, his opponent was Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian, who had returned after 10,000 years of cultivation and was well versed in everything. Jiang Tian had formed the Azure Dragon true essence with the Azure Dragon art of the Cloud Sea, but he had just used the Great Sun Furnace of the Fiend art of the Sky-Swallowing art. The Fiend art of the Sky-Swallowing art was created by Jiang Tian's old friend in the Fiend Sea Star region, Ice Demon Emperor, and was extremely powerful. Ice Demon Emperor used to be indifferent and aloof from worldly affairs, but his partner betrayed him and robbed him of his Dharma treasure. After that, his temperament changed drastically. He became cruel, greedy, bloodthirsty, and violent. He pondered for 300 years and found the truth of the universe, and created the Fiend art of the Sky-Swallowing art. His art was not like the ordinary cultivators who absorbed the spirit chi of heaven and earth to increase their power. Instead, it absorbed the essence of others and turned it into his own power, which was very cruel and tricky. Imagine, no matter how powerful you were, how could you fight back when your opponent swallowed all the Dharma chi and turned it into his own power? It could be said that the stronger you were, the more you would be at a disadvantage. Therefore, for thousands of years, Ice Demon Emperor kept on saying, "Life is really lonely like snow, it's too cold at the top, I beg you to fight with me." He burned, killed, and looted everywhere. He swept through several continents and planets and dominated a star region. Many virtuous paragons and immortal venerables were defeated and fled for their lives. It could be said that wherever he went, not a single hair was left behind. This person's reputation was as bad as Kang Te-Chu's, heaven-swallowing great demon king, #1 bandit in the universe, born in the Pishio, only eating and not pulling. Anyway, none of them were pleasant to hear. In the past, Jiang Tian came to the Fiend Sea continent and fought with Ice Demon Emperor for 3 years. They were evenly matched and directly destroyed half of the continent. In the end, they appreciated each other and shared the same bad habits. They shook hands and called each other brothers. Jiang Tian taught him the primal chaos art to help him refine many contradictory auras. Ice Demon Emperor also returned the favor and taught Jiang Tian the heaven-swallowing demonic art. Let me tell you, if you learn my technique, your life will be as lonely as snow. At that time, Ice Demon Emperor patted Jiang Tian's shoulder and winked at him with a smile. After Jiang Tian comprehended it, he also felt that this technique was too sinister and went against the laws of nature. Under normal circumstances, he would not use it. However, just now when he was surrounded by danger, Jiang Tian did not care so much and directly merged the Great Sun Furnace of the heaven-swallowing demonic art with the Azure Cloud Dragon technique. This was equivalent to using the Azure Cloud Dragon as the body and the Great Sun Furnace as the use, which could smelt all true chi. Even if Lin Zhenyu painstakingly cultivated for another 100 years, in the end, he would only be a mere magma fire poison. How could he withstand the devouring of 2 immortal emperor-level techniques? This is impossible. Seeing this, Lin Zhenyu's face changed dramatically, and his face was full of disbelief. He had sat on the magma fire for 20 years, absorbing the endless fire poison to form a scorching aura. He thought that even Yi Zhantian would have to retreat if he encountered it, but now it was swallowed by Jiang Tian. What kind of demonic art was Kang Te-Chu practicing? He was like a demon god. Not only him, but all the spectators were amazed. Hua Qingtian, Wei Feilong, Zhao Yuankuan, and other strong people of the present age, their eyeballs almost fell out. Run! Run immediately! I'm afraid it will take another 30 years of hard work. Lin Zhenyu was indeed a grandmaster from overseas. He had rich experience in actual combat. If he missed a blow, he would escape thousands of miles away. He madly stomped his feet, as if he was stepping on wind and fire wheels, and dashed wildly into the distance. He used all his cultivation to run, and was as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, he had run hundreds of meters away. Run! Look at how fast you run, do you think you're Lu Xiang? Jiang Tian spat. He spat into his palms, rubbed his hands, and then under the disbelieving gaze of the crowd, he took off his shoes. Then, Jiang Tian raised his hand and threw the shoes out. Fuck. Is this a silent insult and contempt? Many martial artists were speechless and speechless. A duel between grandmasters was like a duel between immortals and immortals. How magnificent it was. But now, he was actually using his shoe to hit people like a foolish woman in a village brawl. Dare I ask, can you be any more wretched? But when the shoes were thrown out, everyone was shocked. Whoosh! Whoosh! There was a sharp sound in the air. On the boundless lake, a white turbulence was dragged out by the shoes. That scene was like a fighter jet breaking the sound barrier and spewing out a long fan-shaped exhaust. Lin Zhenyu was very fast, but compared to Jiang Tian's shoes, he was too slow. He heard the faint sound of wind and thunder behind him, and a strong aura was coming at him. He cursed inwardly and turned around, activating all his true qi. He closed his arms and tried to block the attack. However, Jiang Tian's shoe was too powerful. His protective aura was shattered like a piece of paper, and the shoe landed heavily on Jiang Tian's chest like a rocket. It's a shoe, Lin Zhenyu spat out his last words, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Then, he spat out a mist of blood. He had survived in the volcano for 20 years, and his tall body could withstand bullets. At this moment, a large part of his sternum was caved in by the shoes. Then, his true qi rushed out uncontrollably, causing his surging body to explode, turning into countless pieces of flesh and blood that fell into the lake. Boom! A shocking sound was heard. Jiang Tian's attack had broken the sound barrier. Lin Zhenyu is dead. After a long time, Wei Feilong came back to life as if his soul had returned to his body. Lin Zhenyu is dead. Zhao Yuankuan's face was very solemn, and his eyes were full of horror. He slowly nodded. For a moment, everyone's eyes fell on the figure in white in the center of the lake. Their eyes were full of respect and fear, as if they had seen an immortal or a demon. They knew that today, a star had fallen, but a new star was slowly rising. Azure Dragon swallows the sun and moon, killing a grandmaster in 3 moves. Today's wind and clouds, who will shout? When my flowers bloom, 100 flowers will be killed. After today, the name Kang Teichu will be known throughout Huaxia. Hua Qingtian stood up, his eyes shining, and finally made the final judgment. He was the strongest powerhouse in the field, second on the divine list. His words had already set the stage for this battle. December 31, 2007. Kang Teichu killed Lin Zhenyu, the top grandmaster overseas, the leader of the Great Circle, on Poyang Lake. This battle shocked the world. Chapter 191. Everyone was shocked and dead silent. Everyone stood there motionless as if their souls had been sucked out. Some of their mouths were wide open, some of their eyes almost popped out, and some of their faces were trembling in fear. He was smashed to death by Kang Teichu with a shoe. Wei Feilong didn't think this sentence was funny. Instead, he was shocked and couldn't believe it. His tone was also as if he was talking to a ghost. Everyone's emotions were extremely complicated. 5 months ago, Jiang Tian killed the Grandmaster Hong Tianzhao on Mount Kiara and became a Grandmaster ranked 20th on the divine roll. They didn't believe it at all. More than 4 months ago, Jiang Tian killed Wei Shuofeng and Mo Haoxiong in Jiangnan. They thought it was all a fluke. Many people guessed that Jiang Tian's cultivation was only at the initial stage of the transcendent state or even half a step away from the transcendent state. Some hot-blooded young martial artists even wanted to kill Jiang Tian and use him as a stepping stone to become famous. The Mo family, the Hong family, and the Zhang family who had a grudge against Jiang Tian wanted to kill Jiang Tian. But now, the powerful Lin Zhenyu was killed by Jiang Tian in 2 moves, which made everyone give up on these thoughts. It could be said that no one below the transcendent state could withstand 2 moves from Jiang Tian. Even those famous grandmasters and immortal masters didn't dare to disrespect Jiang Tian in the slightest. They had to treat him with respect and treat him like a disciple. How dare a dog like you try to kill my disciple? You really don't know what's good for you. Jiang Tian walked on the water with his hands behind his back as if he was taking a stroll and slowly walked to the shore. Damn it, I really should cut him into pieces. His face was full of anger and viciousness. He was extremely protective of his disciple, unlike the other grandmasters who were aloof and didn't care about the secular world. However, everyone had seen his divine power and no one dared to disrespect him. Master Kong, thank you for your hard work. Have a cup of water. Zhao Yuankuan respectfully offered a cup of fragrant tea. Master Kong, thank you for getting rid of a scourge for Huaxia's martial arts. Please take a seat. Wei Feilong respectfully bowed and cupped his fists. With a smile on his face, he personally handed a chair to Jiang Tian. Hee, what's so hard about it? It's just killing an ant. Jiang Tian sat down boldly, picked up the tea, and took a sip in satisfaction as he said with a chuckle. Everyone was dumbfounded. He dared to ask the former president of the Martial Arts Association, Wei Feilong, to move his chair, and the Grand Master of Gan Province, Zhao Yuankuan, to serve him tea. What kind of glory and power was this? What was even more shocking was yet to come. Master Kong, I lost my shoes. Where mine? Hua Qingtian actually took off his shoes and squatted down barefooted with a smile on his face. Like a servant serving his master, he wanted to help Jiang Tian put on his shoes. Jiang Tian shrunk his feet back as if he was avoiding a snake or a scorpion. Everyone thought he was going to be polite, but to their surprise, he asked fearfully, Old Hua, you don't have athlete's foot, do you? No. Old man, absolutely not. Master Kong, don't worry. Hua Qingtian was speechless, but he wasn't angry at all. He patted his chest and promised as he helped Jiang Tian put on his shoes. Seeing this scene, everyone was in a predicament. Jiang Taichu was so glorious and domineering that the three grandmasters had to serve him tea, move chairs, and hold his boots as if they were meeting their master. After today, who else would be able to stop this invincible young grandmaster? For a moment, a name popped up in everyone's mind. Yi Zhantian. After Yi Zhantian had defeated all the martial artists in the world, he had also been in seclusion for 10 years. He was now at the peak of the transcendent state, or even half a step away from the immortal state. If he were to fight with Kong Taichu, what would happen? After drinking a cup of tea, Wei Feilong, Hua Qingtian, and Zhao Yuankuan begged Jiang Tian to come to the Hall of Brotherhood. Jiang Tian gladly agreed and stood up. Who is that Master Kong? Why does he look so familiar? Meng Yao was a few kilometers away from Jiang Tian. She was just an ordinary person and couldn't see clearly from 100 meters away. She couldn't help but ask curiously. Right, didn't Zhao Yuankuan call Jiang Tian Master Kong? Could it be Jiang Tian? Tang Bao, said excitedly. How is that possible? That Master Kong just now wasn't human, he was like a god. Meng Yao shook her head in disbelief. It was normal for her to have such thoughts. It was like if you had a neighbor who played games and ate instant noodles in an internet cafe every day, or a delivery man you met on the street. If he said he was Superman or Spider-Man, would you believe him? Yeah, he really is like a god. I admire him so much. Tang Bao had completely turned into Master Kang's little fangirl, but she was also a little disappointed. The distance was too far. She could only look at it but not touch it. It was the same for Meng Yao as well. She was also very disappointed. Compared to Master Kong, Xia Miao and the other young masters of Jinling were like trash. Suddenly, Tang Bao, jumped up and pointed at Jiang Tian in the crowd. He seems to be looking over here. Oh my god, he seems to be smiling at us. Yi Feng, on the other hand, was so scared that his body froze. Cold sweat poured down his forehead, and he almost fell to the ground. Actually, Jiang Tian had changed his appearance slightly when he attacked. But as an assassin, Yi Feng could accurately determine a person's identity through their expression, voice, habits, and posture. He was sure that Master Kong was Jiang Tian. This was a master who could overturn rivers and seas and kill grandmasters. What if he was unhappy and killed him on the spot? Could it be him? On the side, Lin Monong suddenly stood on his tiptoes and adjusted his glasses, whispering, "Why does he look so much like him?" He even made a phone call gesture to me. Jiang Tian only smiled at Lin Monong and walked into the moon gate under the crowd's escort, heading towards the Hall of Brotherhood. Why is Big Brother Yifeng gone? At this moment, Tang Bao realized that Yifeng had sneaked away and immediately shouted anxiously. Many practitioners were gathered in the Hall of Brotherhood. However, it was different from when Jiang Tian was sitting in the lower part of the hall and being interrogated by the practitioners. Now, Jiang Tian was sitting in the upper part of the hall. Even Wei Feilong and Huqing Tian were accompanying him. Many practitioners were worshipping him as if he was a god. They respected and feared him at the same time. After a round of compliments and flattery that Jiang Tian didn't find interesting, Hong Junshan suddenly stood up and cupped his fist with a smile. "Master Kong, your killing of Lin Zhenyu can be said to be a great contribution to the world of martial arts. We are truly grateful. But now that Lin Zhenyu is dead, how can my useless grandson's fire poison be treated?" "That's right, Master Kong, Ming Li is also injured," Zhang Wendao said with a bitter expression. Many practitioners were troubled by this problem. According to Lin Zhenyu, only he could cure the fire poison. Now that he was dead, wouldn't it be a disaster? "Ha, what's so difficult about that? I have a pill that can cure all poisons." Jiang Tian crossed his legs and sipped his tea in satisfaction. He waved his hand and said, "Exquisite pill." In fact, with Jiang Tian's personality, these people had once wanted to kill him. What did their lives have to do with him? However, he needed to find the D-maiden flower for Qing'er and needed the help of many practitioners. He had no choice but to put on a friendly front. When everyone heard this, they were overjoyed. They immediately took the pill and sat down cross-legged to meditate according to Jiang Tian's instructions, circulating their inner qi. Only a quarter of an hour passed. Huqing Tian stood up and said in a trembling voice, "How strange, why does the fire poison seem to have disappeared?" No, it should be said that it has merged with my qi and made me stronger. This is called the Dragon Transformation Pill. It can refine foreign qi into one's qi." Jiang Tian sipped his tea and said calmly with a smile, "It's so magical. Heavens, Grandmaster Jiang actually has such a miraculous medicinal pill. You've really made us concede defeat." Everyone present exclaimed in shock. They couldn't believe it. "Ha, these pills were all refined by my master himself. He can have as many as he wants." Tang Linglong said proudly. Hearing this, the crowd's gaze on Jiang Tian became even more fervent. Some cultivators exclaimed, "That's right, I heard that Grandmaster Jiang is also quite knowledgeable in alchemy and sorcery. His ability is extraordinary. No wonder the Shinong school knelt down and bowed to him. It's rumored that it's because of his powerful alchemy skills. Today, I see that it's true." Hong Junshan murmured with a complicated expression. Huqingtian's cultivation was the highest, so he refined the pill the fastest. However, after half an hour, the others also stood up one after another. The burning sensation had disappeared, and their qi was of varying degrees. Everyone had mixed feelings, especially Zhang Wendao, Hong Junshan, and the others who had a grudge against Jiang Tian. Originally, they blamed Jiang Tian for pestering endlessly and felt a little guilty. Now, Jiang Tian killed people and saved people with his own hands, showing his superb cultivation and superb medical skills. However, they could no longer hate Jiang Tian. Suddenly, Hong Junshan sighed, stood up, and saluted with a fist and palm salute. "Master Kong, my son died in your hands. He deserved it. From now on, the grudge between the Hong family and Master Kong is over." Zhang Wendao stood up and said with a look of reverence, "Grandmaster Jiang is so righteous that he disregarded the former enmity and saved my daughter. Our Zhang family is deeply grateful and will remember this in our hearts. We are willing to worship Grandmaster Jiang and listen to your orders. In fact, even if Jiang Tian didn't save them, they were afraid of Jiang Tian's power. They were afraid that Jiang Tian would take revenge and kill them with a snap of his fingers. Now that Jiang Tian saved them, it gave them a way out. For a time, many martial artists stood up and bowed to Jiang Tian with a fist and palm salute. Their expressions were either humble and respectful, or heroic. They all expressed their gratitude and wanted to bury the hatchet with Jiang Tian. In this regard, Jiang Tian was also happy to see it happen and nodded happily. As the saying goes, one should not be afraid of thieves stealing, but one should be afraid of thieves remembering. Although he tried his best to hide his connection with the secular world, if one really investigated carefully, it would be clear. Jiang Tian was naturally not afraid of these martial artists, but many of his family and friends were after all just mortals without any cultivation. If these enemies were to make a move on them, it would be quite annoying for him. At this time, Zhao Hao suddenly walked to Zhao Yuankuan's ear and whispered a few words. Zhao Yuankuan's face was filled with ecstasy and disbelief. It turned out that his son, Zhao Hao, had been stuck at his current cultivation and could not make any progress. However, after Jiang Tian hit him, he opened up his meridians and had just successfully broken through a layer. It seems that this old man is really kind-hearted. On the surface, he was punishing Zhao Hao, but in fact, he took the opportunity to open up his meridians. This martial arts, this medical skill, and especially this breadth of mind. Zhao Yuankuan was so excited that his whole body trembled. At this moment, his admiration for Jiang Tian could no longer be described with words. Seeing Jiang Tian being surrounded and worshipped by so many martial artists like stars surrounding the moon, Hu Qingtian, Zhao Yuankuan, and Wei Feilong looked at each other and discussed in low voices. Suddenly, Hu Qingtian stood up and scanned the crowd. Master Kong, the azure dragon swallows the sun and moon, defeated Lin Zhenyu in 3 moves. His cultivation is far higher than ours. I propose that from now on, Master Kong will be the president of the Martial Arts Alliance. What do you all think? Chapter 192. I second the motion. If Master Kong becomes the chairman, I'm completely convinced. Zhao Yuankuan was the first to stand up. I agree. If Master Kong can't become the chairman of the Martial Arts Alliance, who else can? Wei Feilong also agreed. I agree. I agree. I'm willing to follow Master Kong to revitalize the martial arts in Huaxia and protect the justice and order of the martial arts world. Master Kong abhors evil and is as strong as a dragon. If he becomes the chairman of the Martial Arts Alliance, he'll definitely open up a new era. With a veteran grandmaster taking the lead, many martial arts experts stood up and expressed their support. Their faces were full of admiration. Their blood was boiling, and they were impassioned. They were like a group of warriors who were eager to fight and follow Jiang Tian to fight for the world. Everyone thought that Kong Taichu was too strong. He had even killed the leader of the Big Circle, Lin Zhenyu. They thought that if he became the chairman of the Martial Arts Alliance, the world would be peaceful, and no evil martial artists would dare to cause trouble. Moreover, if Jiang Tian took control of the Martial Arts Alliance, he would be a great deterrent to the foreign forces. No one would dare to invade Huaxia. Oh my God, the 25-year-old chairman of the Martial Arts Alliance is leading the heroes of the world. Zhang Mingli's beautiful eyes sparkled. She looked at the scene in front of her in disbelief. She thought about how Jiang Tian seemed to be the target of public criticism a few days ago. She felt like she was in a dream. Sigh, if I could have 1/10 of his achievements in this life, I wouldn't have lived in vain. Hong Hichu, Zhao Hao, and the other martial artists of the younger generation no longer had any resentment or contempt toward Jiang Tian. They didn't even have the slightest desire to fight for supremacy. All they had was deep admiration, longing, and admiration. On the other hand, Tang Linglong, Qiu Gong, and Li Jinwei looked proud and happy. They were all Jiang Tian's followers. Now that Jiang Tian became the chairman of the Martial Arts Alliance, they felt honored. Faced with the eager gazes of the martial artists, Jiang Tian smiled faintly. To me, being the president of the Martial Arts Alliance is just an empty title and a burden. I have no interest in it. Everyone, please don't make things difficult for me. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was stunned. Their faces were full of disbelief. In the eyes of the martial artists, the president of the Martial Arts Alliance held a high position, second only to the leader of the Long Formation, Yi Zhantian. Countless heroes of the world had racked their brains in order to ascend to this throne. But at this moment, many powerful martial artists were pushing for him to take the position, but he actually, flatly refused. Master Kong, you don't have to be so modest. We are all sincere. Hua Qingtian thought that Jiang Tian was just putting on an act. No. I'm not being courteous, I'm really not interested. Jiang Tian shook his head and said calmly, I'm really only here to find the crown princess flower for my beloved wife's cultivation. Beside him, Wei Feilong added with a smile, Mr. Jiang, the god of war, Yi Zhantian, also sent a congratulatory message just now. He congratulated you on killing Lin Zhenyu and getting rid of a potential threat for Hua Xia's martial arts. He also hopes that you can become the president of the Martial Arts Alliance and work side by side with him to achieve great things. What? Yi Zhantian mentioned it. To be able to work side by side with Yi Zhantian, how glorious and glorious is this? This is. Many martial artists looked at Jiang Tian in shock, admiration, and envy. They felt that he was as unattainable as a lone peak, as unreachable as the North Star. Yi Zhantian can give me suggestions, but I can also choose not to listen. What right does he have to force me? Jiang Tian did not take it to heart. He stood up and said calmly, my words are the same. If you have any news about the Crown Princess flower, tell me immediately. I will reward you handsomely. Ling Long, Ghosty, let's go. Seeing him walk out with his hands behind his back, the crowd was stunned. They could not believe their eyes. He turned down the position of the president of the Martial Arts Alliance just like that. That was too easy. Kang Tae-chu, stop right there. Suddenly, a girl in martial attire stood up from the crowd and shouted loudly. Is that the leader of the Long Formation Group 1, Chao Jianjia? Yes, the best disciple of the Chao family, Yi Zhantian's personal disciple. She has achieved phenomenal success in her internal force cultivation. Someone recognized the girl and exclaimed. The gathering of the Martial Arts Alliance this time was organized by the Zhao family of Gan Province. However, the Long Formation was secretly supervising it. However, since the Martial Arts Alliance wanted to maintain its image as a civilian martial arts organization, Chao Jianjia did not want to be too high profile. She had been observing from the shadows. But now, she had no choice but to stand out. Kang Tae-chu rejected the position when Yi Zhantian mentioned him. In her eyes, it was an insult to the Long Formation. This was the humiliation of the Long Formation. It was also a slap to Yi Zhantian's face. As Yi Zhantian's disciple, she would never allow such a thing to happen. What? Jiang Tian frowned. He was a little annoyed. What are you doing? Chao Jianjia's beautiful face was filled with anger. She took a step forward and said coldly, do you know that there is a saying about the Long Formation? Those who join us are our friends. Those who don't join us are our enemies. Now, the Long Formation is trying to be friendly to you. How dare you reject it? Do you want to become the enemy of the Long Formation and all the martial artists in the world? She looked straight at Jiang Tian, took another step forward, and said coldly, Jiang Taichu, you are indeed very powerful. However, may I ask if you can withstand the attack of a rocket launcher or a nuclear weapon? Even if you can escape to the ends of the earth, can your family and friends escape? She took a step forward and asked a few more questions. Soon, she was in the middle of the field and confronted Jiang Tian. She seemed to think that she had Jiang Tian in the bag. She took out her military mobile phone and opened a file. Your real name is Jiang Tian. You are from the Jiang family in Jinling. Your grandfather is Jiang Changgang. Your father is Jiang Zhixing. Your mother is Zhang Wanqing. She is the general manager of the Xixia pharmaceutical factory. Your lover. Speaking up to this point, her beautiful eyes flashed, and she giggled, teasing him. I didn't expect your grandfather to be so powerful. He is from the Zhang family. Her smile, which had yet to fully blossom, came to an abrupt end. The smile on her beautiful face was completely covered by fear. Because a jade-white hand suddenly reached out and grabbed her neck like an iron clamp. Chao Jianjia was shocked. She felt that Jiang Tian's hand had grabbed her neck. Her qi and strength were rushing out of her body. She couldn't even muster up any strength. She had difficulty breathing and felt dizzy. She shouted with difficulty, Kang Te-chu, how dare you kill me? So what if I kill you? Even if Yi Zhantian dares to talk to me like this, he will die. Jiang Tian's face was cold. There was no trace of emotion in his eyes. It was as if killing her was as easy as killing a chicken. Master Kang, calm down. Wei Feilong was scared out of his wits. He hurried to persuade him. Master Kang, you can't kill Chao Jianjia. Zhao Yuankuan's face also changed. He was so scared that his whole body was trembling. Master Kang, calm down. Master Kang, don't be rash. For a moment, many martial artists were trying to persuade Jiang Tian. They were afraid that Jiang Tian would do something he couldn't handle. In fact, everyone knew that Chao Jianjia's words were too much. Grandmasters were like dragons. A trump card grandmaster like Jiang Tian, who was likely to discover the truth of the divine realm in his lifetime, was a supreme existence. Even if Yi Zhantian was here, he should treat him as an equal and treat him with respect. It could be said that if she was killed by Jiang Tian, she would only have herself to blame. But her identity was too sensitive. She was born in a top family of generals. If she was provoked, it would be a terrible disaster. It might even cause the government to suppress the martial arts world again like in the late 1990s. She couldn't be killed. Anyone who doesn't join your family is your enemy. How arrogant and domineering. Humph, I'd like to see what you can do to me after I've been your enemy for a long time. Jiang Tian's eyes glowed with a bloodthirsty light. His fingers tightened and the bones in Chao Jianjia's neck rubbed against each other. At this moment, he was really angry. This long-time formation was too arrogant and domineering. It was even worse than when he was in the outer space. If I don't join you, you threaten my lover and family. Don't you know that this is Kang Te-chu's reverse scale? Whoever touches it will die, including your long-time formation. At this time, Chao Jianjia's hands and feet were convulsing. She was really scared. Her face was full of horror and pain. Jiang Tian's eyes were cold and merciless. He was like a high and mighty god looking down at ants. His body exuded a monstrous blood aura. He was like a demon king who walked out of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. He was cold and merciless, carrying with him an indomitable and tragic aura that could destroy everything. It was extremely terrifying. All this told her that Jiang Tian really dared to kill her. This was not a bluff and he was not trying to scare her. You think you're very powerful, but in my eyes, it's just something I can destroy with a wave of my hand. Jiang Tian's cold voice sounded. In this world, no one can survive after threatening me. Remember, after you reincarnate, don't provoke me. I, Kang Te-chu, am someone you can't afford to provoke. Chao Jianjia felt that her consciousness was about to fade. She looked at Hua Qingtian for help and said bitterly, Uncle Hua, save me, Master Kang. Jianjia is young and ignorant, but she has good intentions. Please give the old man some face and spare her this time. Hua Qingtian did not dare to fight Jiang Tian head-on. In a moment of desperation, he knelt on the ground and begged in a trembling voice. Master Kong, please forgive me. Why do you have to make things difficult for a child? Master Kong, she offended the heavens and deserves to die. But on account of the fact that we once worked together to resist the enemy, give this old man some face and spare her life. Master Kong, please let her go. We will report this to War God Yi and Old Man Chao and punish her. In the next moment, Wei Feilong, Zhao Yuankuan and the other transcendent grandmasters all knelt on the ground and begged. The scene shocked everyone. Tai Chu's wrath had shocked the world. The 7 transcendent grandmasters all knelt and begged for mercy. Since this is your first offense, I will spare you this time. Seeing this, Jiang Tian heaved a sigh and let go of Chao Jianjia. He then linked his hands behind his back and strode out. Bang! Chao Jianjia sat on the ground, greedily gasping for air. Her face was pale, and fear that she had never felt before flashed in her heart. Jiang Tian's expression was calm. Under the urging of many cultivators, he left the Poyang Water Manor without any reluctance. No one knew what was on his mind. Become stronger. He must become stronger. If he could pierce through the earth with his sword, no one in the world would dare to threaten him. Chao Jianjia could not wait to suck up to him. Today, Chao Jianjia's threat to Jiang Tian was a strong signal to him that he was not invincible. At least, his body was not strong enough to withstand the attack of a weapon of mass destruction. Chapter 193. Earth was the same as the cultivation world. The strong were respected and the weak were punished. Weakness was the original sin and could only be threatened and bullied. Jiang Tian wasn't afraid of the long formation. If he killed Chao Jianjia, he might be able to escape unscathed, but what about his parents and Qing'er? When Wei Shuofeng used the Tide Hark Mountain Qi, and when Lin Zhenyu used the Kuan Peng's 3 transformations, I felt my body weaken. Even if it didn't completely shatter, it was completely possible that I was injured. Sitting in the Mercedes-Benz on the way back, Jiang Tian squinted at the scenery outside the window and thought leisurely. This is because my body is just an ordinary body. Although it has been strengthened by cultivation arts, it is still just a mortal body after all. His face gradually became firm and there seemed to be a burning flame dancing and flickering in his eyes. The first thing I need to do now is to find materials to rebuild my body and activate many divine powers. When the time comes, I will be invincible and will be able to defeat thousands of soldiers and horses. I won't be afraid of modern weapons of mass destruction or even nuclear weapons. Second, I need to guide my family on the path of cultivation. Even if they can't become immortals or gods, they must at least be able to protect themselves. Thinking of this, he took out his phone and looked at the date and murmured, Grandpa's birthday banquet is about to start. I need to return to Jinling. Maybe this is an opportunity. While Jiang Tian was still on the way back to Linzhou, the news that Kang Taichu had killed Lin Zhenyu, the leader of the overseas grandmasters, swept across the entire Huaxia martial arts world and the upper-class society like a super typhoon. Even if Jiang Tian had killed Hong Tianzhao of Yi Province, Mo Haoxiong of Lingnan and Wei Shuofeng of Lingnan, his reputation was still limited to southern Huaxia. But Lin Zhenyu was different. He was the pillar of the Big Circle, the #1 overseas society. He was famous in the entire Chinese world, but he was killed by a young Grand Master who was not even 30 years old. This was too shocking and unbelievable. Yan Jin, Zhonghai, Yangcheng, Southeast Asia, the United States. Many families and forces were paying close attention to this news. A name that was earth-shattering and earth-shattering appeared out of nowhere, shocking everyone. Kang Taichu. Even many families in Japan, Europe, and Southeast Asia had heard of this almost invincible peerless powerhouse. In the northern suburbs of Beijing, on the aspiring throne peak of Mount Yan, the Long Formation encampment. An old man in his 60s with an extraordinary bearing was sitting cross-legged under an old tree. He was dressed in a long green robe. His body was surrounded by an aura, and his face was as calm as an old monk in meditation. However, his sword-like eyebrows were slanted to his temples, making him look very heroic. If there were any Huaxia martial artists here, they would definitely cry out in surprise and respect. He was the supreme existence of Huaxia's martial arts. War God. Yi Zhantian. Suddenly, a general walked in quickly and whispered into his ear. Yi Zhantian opened his deep eyes and stared at the south. He remained silent for a long time. No one knew what he was thinking. Elder Yi, what should we do? The general asked. This person is neither good nor evil. It is difficult to distinguish between friend and foe. If we take a step forward, he will be a hero. If we take a step back, he will be a good general. Try to rope him in and keep a close eye on him. Yi Zhantian's eyes were deep and his face was solemn. He paused for a moment and added, pay more attention to him than Xiao Bin and Lin Zhenyu. He will be listed as a special alert. Understand? Yes. The general's entire body trembled, and a storm rose in his heart. What does Elder Yi want to do? Yi Zhantian narrowed his eyes and looked at the sky as if he wanted to see through the depths of the universe. He remained silent for a long time. Elder Yi, do you have any other instructions about Kang Teichu? The general asked in a deep voice. Yi Zhantian waved his hand and closed his eyes again. The yellow leaves slowly fell and the quaint little courtyard returned to its tranquility. After a long time, a confused and probing voice sounded. Is he human? Yunzhou, 5 Tiger Village, Saber ancestral land of the 5 Tiger sect. These days, Zhang Qitian had been recuperating and taking medicine to strengthen his body. He was recovering well. After performing a set of saber techniques, he was sweating all over. He felt that his understanding of martial arts had become more refined. He was satisfied and calm. Revenge is a dish best served cold. 10 years later, I will fight Kang Teichu again and avenge my humiliation. Zhang Qitian sheathed his saber. His resolute face flashed with determination and his fighting spirit surged. Brother, father called us for a meeting about Kang Teichu. Zhang Mingli walked over quickly. He also participated in the Martial Arts Alliance conference. Could he have been beaten to death? That's too bad. Zhang Qitian gritted his teeth and walked quickly into the meeting hall. It seems that we have seriously underestimated Kang Teichu's strength. I'm afraid he is only one step away from the immortal state. When Zhang Wendao finished talking about everything that had happened in the Martial Arts Alliance conference, many of the Zhang family's higher-ups were stunned. Everyone's face was ashen. Only a skinny old man sitting at the head of the table, the oldest grandmaster of the 5 Tigers saber techniques, spoke. This battle was too shocking. Lin Zhenyu killed Li Tuofeng, suppressed Hu Qingtian, and was killed by Jiang Tian's azure dragon swallowing the sun and moon in 3 moves. They raised huge waves and condensed the azure dragon with fire. They displayed strength that was beyond the grandmaster level. With his level of cultivation, I'm afraid even Yi Zhantian will have to be careful. I'm afraid I won't be able to catch up with him in my lifetime. Zhang Qitian looked like he was laughing and crying. He let out a long sigh, his eyes filled with despair. Jiang Tian's azure dragon that could swallow the fire poison of the sun and moon obviously had spirituality. It should be the peak of martial arts, the Qi form. It might even be the truth of the immortal state. He might not be able to achieve this level of cultivation even if he worked hard for 3 lifetimes. How could he still think about revenge? Especially you. Qitian, you must understand that there is always someone better than you. Keep your arrogant and hot-tempered temper in the future. Zhang Wendao saw his son's uncertain expression and emphasized with a frown. I understand. Zhang Qitian felt as if his soul had been sucked out. He was weak all over and his face was pale. When the enemy could still catch up with him, he would still think about revenge. But when the enemy was too strong and he could only look up to them, the hot blood of revenge would turn cold faster than a pile of cow dung in winter. The eyes of the great master flickered and his face was gloomy for a long time. At this time, he suddenly slammed the table and stood up. He said in a deep voice, "Fine, fine. The strong are easy to break. Kang Tae-chu is too strong. We can only avoid him. From now on, the Zhang family will avoid Kang Tae-chu to show our respect." "Yes. Great master." Many people of the Zhang family bowed together with mixed feelings and responded in a deep voice. The Zhang family could only swallow their broken teeth and blood, suppressing their emotions in the deepest part of their hearts. Jiang Tian was invincible and even killed Lin Zhenyu in 2 moves. They could only hold their nose and swallow a pile of shit. He has become the first person after Yi Zhantian so quickly. In the hall, Zhang Lang, the frenzied blade, who was attending the meeting, was stunned. He couldn't believe it, as if he had fallen into a dream. A few months ago, in his eyes, Jiang Tian was just an ordinary grandmaster among the many grandmasters. Now he could be called the first grandmaster under the immortal state and was qualified to be on an equal footing with Yi Zhantian. At the same time, the Hua family of the Central Plains, the Hong family of the Yi province, the Zhao family of the Gan province, the Tang sect of the Central Shu province, the Golden Blade Wang family of Luoyang, and many other martial arts families were spreading the news and discussing countermeasures. But in the end, they decided to reach the same goal by different means. It's best if we can become friends with Kang Tae-chu. Even if we can't, we must never become enemies with Kang Tae-chu. At this point, Kang Tae-chu's name had spread throughout the martial arts world of Huaxia. He had become the first Grand Master on the divine list after one battle. Famous all over the world. At this time, Jiang Tian had driven back to Linzhou and arrived at the King No. 1 villa. After all, home was the warmest place. It was like a small boat docked at the cozy harbor after a stormy sea. Jiang Tian walked into the courtyard. To his surprise, Elder Tang, the 3 sons of the Tang family, Yi Gufeng, Zheng Jiushuan, Dragon V, and Zhou Zhenghao were already waiting for him. Even Hong Yi and Su Wenjie of the Lingnan Sorcery Circle were there. It could be said that the place was full of distinguished guests. Master Kang. Congratulations to Grandmaster Jiang for returning with great honors. Seeing Jiang Tian return, everyone came out to greet him. They bowed to him with reverence and excitement. "Why are you all here?" Jiang Tian was surprised. He had kept a low profile when he arrived. Only Elder Tang and a few others knew about his arrival. He didn't expect so many people to be waiting for him. "We are here to congratulate Master Kang." Elder Tang was so excited that he couldn't help but tremble. He said ecstatically, "Congratulations, Master Kang. You have won the Martial Arts Alliance Conference. This is going to be a great occasion." He had already received news that many military regions and military branches were trying to recruit Jiang Tian. Because of Jiang Tian's fame, the fact that he had once served as Zhan Long's martial arts consultant was valued even more by the higher-ups. Tang Hongtu, who had been recommended by Jiang Tian, had already gotten his wish of becoming a major general. Even the government officials were paying more attention to the Tang family. Tang Weimin had been transferred to Yangqing City as the secretary of the municipal committee. Not to mention, Tang Linglong's power had skyrocketed. She could easily join the Battle Dragon organization or even the Long Formation. Everyone looked very excited. Jiang Tian had made a name for himself. No one would dare to mess with him in the future. In response, Jiang Tian shook his head and did not bother to say anything. He held Zhao Xueqing's hand and heaved a long sigh. "Qing'er, I didn't find the D-daughter flower. It's good that you came back safely." Zhao Xueqing quickly wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and smiled. "We can take our time to find the D-daughter flower. We are not in a hurry." After everyone was seated, Tang Wanyan excitedly slapped his thigh and said, "Grandmaster Jiang, this is really a case of a man ascending to the heavens. As your lackeys, we are really honored. You piece of trash. You have no culture at all." You are so vulgar and shameful. Elder Tang slammed the table angrily, but he couldn't hide the smile on his face. Everyone burst into laughter. Dad, you don't know the market. Tang Wanyan proudly said, after Grandmaster Jiang defeated Wei Shuofeng, I don't know how many people wanted to become Grandmaster Jiang's lackeys. That Tang Zhinya begged me many times, but I ignored him. Chapter 194. Old man, third elder is right. Zhou Zhenghao added, Tang Shaozi has begged me many times. He wants to be a lackey, but he can't. Tang Wanyan slapped his thigh and smiled. Now that Grandmaster Jiang has killed Lin Zhenyu, how glorious and domineering is that? Naturally, there will be more people who want to be Grandmaster Jiang's dog. Everyone burst into laughter again. Firecrackers. Fireworks. Zhou Zhenghao and Tang Wanyan took out firecrackers and fireworks and set them off outside the door. They jumped up and down and cheered like two kids celebrating the Lunar New Year. Elder Tang shook his head and laughed bitterly when he saw this, and then he said seriously, Grandmaster Jiang, this matter is of great significance and is no small matter. I think we should hold a hero's banquet and get along well with the figures of the martial world. Elder Tang had been involved in both the martial arts world and the military world. He took care of both the martial arts world and the national affairs. He knew that although Jiang Tian was famous, he had made many enemies. With Jiang Tian's wild and unrestrained personality, he would not care about these enemies. But as Grandmaster Jiang's subordinates, they had to be clear-minded and help Grandmaster Jiang resolve some conflicts. They should invite these people to have a drink together, call them brothers, and say a few polite words for Jiang Tian. That was the right thing to do. Forget it. However, Jiang Tian felt that there was no need for that. After all, he had given them a lot of elixirs to neutralize the fire poison, so the conflict was resolved. Master Kong, why don't we have a gathering? Don't worry, leave everything to the Tang family. We won't let you worry. Elder Tang said with a smile. It's my grandfather's birthday soon. I haven't been back for 3 years. This time, I have to go no matter what. Jiang Tian said with a trace of longing in his eyes. It was not 3 years, but 10,000 years. Jiang Tian was one of the Jiang family's third-generation disciples who was doted on the most by the old man. In his past life, Jiang Tian was kicked out of the family. He was very angry and did not even see the old man for the last time. It was said that when the old man was dying, he was still murmuring Jiang Tian's name on his sickbed. In the end, he shouted, "Live up to expectations," 3 times before he died. It could be said that the old man died with hatred in his heart. He died with his eyes wide open. In this life, when I come back, I will make sure you live a long and healthy life without any regrets. Oh, filial piety is the most important of all virtues. We understand Master Kang's decision. Everyone hurriedly nodded and looked at each other. Their hearts were restless. Celebrating grandfather Jiang Changgeng's birthday. This was a rare opportunity to curry favor with Jiang Tian. In Chinatown, Las Vegas. The lights were dazzling, luxury cars were like rain, and gamblers were like clouds. The Lisboa Tower, which was more than 88 stories tall, pierced through the sky like a sharp arrow embedded with gems. It was one of the top 3 casinos in Las Vegas. It was famous for its large scale, luxurious facilities, good reputation, and beautiful dealers. It was a gambling den for the world's top gamblers. The daily turnover was tens of millions of dollars. However, only those who had a deep understanding of the underground world would know that this was the headquarters of the most famous overseas Chinese society, the Big Circle. Whoosh! Whoosh! A Marine One commercial helicopter circled to the top of the building and landed slowly. This helicopter was the same model as the presidential helicopter in the United States. It was a limited production by Sikorsky Aircraft and was priced at $40 million. It could carry 20 people and had luxurious facilities. Many tycoons wanted it. The door opened and a man in a tuxedo walked out slowly. He had blonde hair and blue eyes. It was impossible to tell his age. He was extremely handsome, elegant. If people who paid attention to the fashion industry and the upper class saw him, they would definitely exclaim in surprise. He was the prince of a country in Western Europe. He owned a few luxury brands and was famous in the entertainment industry. But at this moment, his aura was awe-inspiring. There seemed to be thunder and fire flashing in his eyes. There was a group of men and women behind him. They were all dressed like business elites. The men were all tall and had powerful auras. Their eyes were like lightning. The women were from different races, but they were all hot and charming. There were even 2 famous stars in Hollywood. The blonde man led them into the elevator on the top floor. Many guards in black lowered their heads to show their respect. The sun god Apollo has come to the headquarters. Looks like something big is going to happen this time. Many guards whispered to each other. Their faces became solemn. He had 2 identities. Not only was he the head of the European side of the Great Circle, but he was also one of the 12 main gods of the Western Arcana realm. He was the pillar of the European temple. In the outside world, he had always shown himself as a prince and secretly supported the Great Circle's operations in Europe. He rarely contacted the Great Circle in person. This time, he came in person, giving people a feeling that a storm was coming. I heard that the leaders of all the war zones are here this time. I just saw the black ape. It's really a piece of coal. One of the guards laughed. Shut up, Jack. You don't know that the black ape Carl hates it when people talk about his skin color. The leader of the guards gritted his teeth and shouted angrily. If he hears you, he will tear you apart and eat you alive. Jack thought of the black ape Carl's mountain-like body and felt a chill run down his spine. He shut his mouth obediently. Seeing Apollo's body disappear into the elevator, everyone was filled with suspicion and shock. So many big shots of the Great Circle had come together. This was a grand occasion that would not happen during the annual ancestral worship ceremony. What had happened? Apollo went down to the top floor and walked into a large conference room in the classic style of Huaxia. He saw that many big shots of the Great Circle had already arrived. Prince William, you're late. Seeing Apollo arrive, an old man in a tang suit sitting at the head of the table said unhappily. Honorable 6th Master Fan, you can't blame me. Other than working for the Great Circle, I also have to work for the temple. You know that vampires have appeared in London recently. I just fought with them. Apollo lazily sat down and picked up a Cuban cigar that was placed on the table. As he twirled his fingers, a flame ignited on his fingertips. He lit the cigar, took a light puff, and shrugged his shoulders. There were many powerful people in the conference room, but most of them were standing respectfully. Only 8 people were sitting, and among them were the 7 big shots of the Great Circle. These 7 big shots were each in charge of a region and controlled the underground forces of several countries. There were men and women among them, and they came from different regions and clans. However, each of them had a powerful aura. Some were as sharp as unsheathed swords, some were as heavy as Mount Tai, and some were as deep as the Great Swamp. They were either mutants or all kinds of strange cultivators. However, in terms of strength, they were no weaker than the martial arts masters of Huaxia. The Great Circle originated from the smuggling wave from the 50s to the 70s. It already had a long history of 70 years. Powerhouses gathered there, and experts were as common as trees in the forest. They were involved in illegal businesses such as arms, drugs, human trafficking, kidnapping, and casinos. They made money quickly and now controlled hundreds of billions of dollars in assets. Their assets were comparable to that of a small country. The Great Circle had already surpassed the Chinese. They had absorbed a lot of blood and many tycoons from all over the world had joined them. However, the person at the head of the table was 89 years old. He was thin and small, and his aura was waning. He only had a thumb on his right hand, and the remaining 4 fingers were bare. It seemed that he had been chopped off by some sharp weapon. It was obvious that he didn't have any cultivation. However, no one dared to show any disrespect to such an old and disabled person. Because he was the boss of the Great Circle, 6th Master Fan. He was the one who had organized the major overseas Chinese gangs and created the Great Circle. In the United States, he could freely go in and out of Congress to lobby and drink with the speaker. He had a high status. When he first started out, his nickname was Fan Lu Ji. But now that he was old, his seniority was high, and his status was respected. Everyone respectfully addressed him as Master Lu. It's just a few vampires. They can't do anything. Don't mind them. 6th Master Fan's face was as calm as an ancient well. Then, a cold light flashed in his eyes as he said, "The change in Huaxia is the most important thing now. Lin Zhenyu has died in Huaxia." What? Senior Lin is really dead? A seductive woman with long golden hair, wearing a dress with a high slit, revealed her snow-white and voluptuous legs, giving off a seductive feeling. She covered her small red mouth and cried out in shock. A hint of greed and passion flashed in Apollo's eyes, but there was also a hint of fear. This woman's code name was the Mediterranean Golden Scorpion, also known as the Killer Beauty Scorpion. She was a metal mutant and was extremely fierce and powerful. Last year, an oil tycoon in the United Arab Emirates who controlled tens of billions of dollars of crude oil died in a heavily guarded seaside villa. Rumor had it that it was her doing. Yes, Lin Zhenyu has been killed by a martial arts master in Huaxia. Even his body was smashed to pieces on a big lake in Huaxia. Lin Zhenyu's successor and the person in charge of North America, Little Five, said. He was a handsome young man and Lin Zhenyu's most outstanding disciple. He had already reached the peak of internal force. This is unbelievable. Master Lin is the #1 martial arts master in the Great Circle, but he was killed. Golden Scorpion was shocked. Her eyes flashed with a strange metallic luster as if there was mercury flowing in them. It would take at least 5 or 6 grandmasters to kill Senior Lin Zhenyu. Which forces did it? Was it the Long Formation, the Martial Arts Alliance, the Singapore Chinese Association in Southeast Asia, or the military? A tall black man asked in a low voice. He sat on a chair like a mountain and his head almost touched the ceiling. His skin was covered in white paint that formed a strange pattern. There was a strange energy flowing through his skin. Apollo knew that he was called Black Ape Carl, and was the person in charge of Africa. He had control over the arms trade, human trafficking, and diamond production in Africa. His annual profit for the Great Circle was over $10 billion. Apollo's eyes were filled with fear. He remembered that he was the descendant of an old African priest. He had the mysterious power of the earth and could withstand machine gun fire. Once, a warlord from a small country in Africa tried to assassinate him, but he overturned 3 tanks and fought his way out. It's not the Long Formation, the Martial Arts Alliance, or the Singapore Chinese Association in Southeast Asia. It's a new martial arts master in Huaxia. His name is Kong Tae-chu and he's not even 30 years old. Little Five's expression was extremely solemn as he reported the information he had gathered. Not even 30 years old. How is that possible? The grandmasters in Huaxia are all over 40 years old. Where did Kong Tae-chu come from? Everyone turned pale with fright when they heard this. Even Apollo looked as if he was facing a great enemy. Terrifying flames flowed out of his eyes. Chapter 195. According to witnesses, he was able to form a sentient azure dragon and devoured my master's sun-moon transformation. He might even be half an immortal state warrior. Little Five said slowly. Everyone cried out in alarm, and their expressions changed drastically. Apollo was also shocked and couldn't believe it. He was talented, but he only managed to control the power of the sun at the age of 42. Lin Zhenyu said that he had the potential to become an immortal state warrior. Therefore, he was called the Sun God and was one of the 12 main gods of Europe. But now, such a martial arts prodigy had appeared before the age of 30, which made him feel a sense of danger. Even if he isn't half an immortal state warrior, he has to be at the peak of the transcendent state and has the potential to become an immortal state warrior. Little Five smiled wryly and shook his head. Then we have to kill him as soon as possible. If he is allowed to become an immortal state warrior, we will be in trouble. A skinny middle-aged man said. He emitted a cold aura, and cold air filled the air around him. The air condensed into weapons, and the table and chairs were covered with white frost. Hearing this, many of the overlords and overlords nodded. Sixth Old Man Fan finally showed his anger and said slowly, for 70 years, no one has dared to provoke the De Huan gang except for the government and the warlords. His voice was cold and murderous, brimming with a powerful aura. This isn't a normal provocation. It's a serious provocation for killing a chief and a district supervisor. It can be said that they're treating the Great Circle like nobody's business. If we don't do anything, the De Huan gang won't be able to do anything. I am afraid that the Mafia and Yakuza will think that we are weak and will come to bite us. A murderous glint flashed in his eyes as he slammed the table and said decisively, therefore, the Great Circle must exact bloody revenge. Blood for blood, an eye for an eye, we must kill Kang Tae-chu at all costs. But, how do we kill him? Huaxia has always been a forbidden area for the De Huan gang. We have failed several times. In his seat, a white paper fan think tank asked with furrowed brows. The Great Circle was the largest organization in the Chinese community and was ranked among the top 4 in the world. They were able to support the warlords in small countries like Africa and Western Europe and influence the political situation of these small countries. However, when faced with such a large country, the difference was too great. Especially in Huaxia, they had zero tolerance for those peerless experts who violated the law and such acts of killing. In the 60s of the last century, there was a God Realm master from the fire worship sect who formed a clique in the northwest of Huaxia to pursue personal interests. He set up another mountain and ran amok. At that time, the great man waved his hand and conducted 3 nuclear tests in the western region, directly razing the fire worship sect to the ground. Many masters and experts were turned into ashes, not even leaving a trace. From then on, the immortal state warriors in Huaxia disappeared without a trace. No one knew if they were hiding or if they were all killed by the explosion. This was basically the case globally as well. Since the birth of nuclear weapons, many masters had gone into hiding and no immortal state warriors had come out. If the Great Circle made a move directly, it would also lead to a crazy counterattack from Huaxia's officials. We're using the hidden flower method to mobilize all the experts in the world to kill Kang Tae-chu. Sixth Old Man Fan said in a deep voice. The so-called hidden flower was a private, illegal bounty that was not made public. The identity of the buyer was unknown. Normally, they would ask a trustworthy middleman to spread the news and anyone who killed the target would receive the reward. How much is Sixth Old Man going to pay for the hidden flower bounty? Little Five asked. 500 million USD. Sixth Old Man Fan's expression was calm as he spat out a few words like an ancient well. Everyone was shocked. This was the magnanimity of the Great Circle. 500 million USD for a single hidden flower bounty was enough to stir the entire underground world. Now, the hidden flower bounty on the dark net has been released. Tombstone, the butterfly skeleton and the blood totem have all accepted the bounty. Even if Kang Tae-chu is a martial arts genius, he won't be able to stop hundreds of assassinations. Sixth Old Man Fan took a sip of his tea and said slowly, it can be said that he can't stay in Huaxia any longer. He can only escape from the country and avoid the brunt of the attack. Little Five slapped his thigh and said excitedly, if he dares to come out, as long as he's in international waters, then our large-scale heavy firepower will come in handy. The Great Circle was involved in the arms smuggling trade. They had all kinds of heavy weapons piled up like mountains. In the past 70 years, no one has been able to live if I wanted to kill them. Sixth old man Fan nodded lightly. A mocking smile appeared on his face, as if Jiang Tian was an ant trying to shake a tree. What a scary plan, everyone was shocked when they heard this. They felt a chill run down their spines and were even more wary of sixth old man Fan. Sigh, this Kong Tae-chu is also a martial arts genius, but why did he have to provoke the Great Circle? Golden Scorpion shook his head and sighed. I'm afraid he will die a horrible death, and he won't even know how he died. As long as he hasn't reached immortal state, he shouldn't make an enemy out of the Great Circle. That was the thought of many magnates. Jiang Taichu was even more powerful than Yi Zhantian had been back then. However, the difference was that Yi Zhantian had the backing of the Huaxia military. Furthermore, he had been in Huaxia all his life and had never left the country. The Great Circle not only had 7 magnates who were as powerful as grandmasters, but they also had hundreds of billions of US dollars in assets and a well-equipped modern private army. Kong Tae-chu was alone. No matter how powerful he was, how could he be a match for the Great Circle? Meanwhile, Jiang Tian was unaware of the plan. After discussing it with his parents, he and Qing'er drove to Jinlin City to attend his grandfather's birthday party. Jinlin City was the former capital of 6 dynasties. It was known as the Rouge of the North, Gold Powder of the South. Clothing and cultural relics, the first in Jiangnan, white under the clear stream, peach leaf round fan, beautiful and famous, not to be left behind in history. In recent years, the city's economy had been booming. Many modern skyscrapers had sprouted from the ground, complementing the historic sites. Tourists from all over the country flocked to Jinlin City. Zhang Wanqing had been working in Jinlin City for a long time. She had bought a small villa in Jinlin City. Jiang Tian and Qing'er stayed there. It was cleaner and more convenient than a hotel. Jiang Tian and his family were chatting in the living room. Yi Ziwei was there as well. We need to prepare a birthday gift for your grandfather. Jiang Zhixing sipped his tea and said. Yeah, they always laughed at our gifts in the past. Zhang Wanqing's face darkened. We can't let it happen again this year. The old man lived a simple life and was indifferent to fame and fortune. He only wanted to celebrate his birthday with his family and friends. He didn't like to be given expensive gifts. However, his 2 brothers and 1 sister liked to compete with each other. They used the old man's birthday as an opportunity to show off their strength. Yi Ziwei pursed her lips and smiled. Dad, Mom, Jiang Tian and I will go to the antique street in the Confucius Temple to buy some things. The old man likes the 4 treasures of the study, antique calligraphy and paintings, jade ornaments and so on. Yes, the old man also likes to play with calligraphy and painting. This is a good idea. Jiang Zhixing and his wife nodded. Even Zhao Xueqing was a little moved. Her eyes flickered and she seemed a little excited. Then let's go together. Jiang Tian originally thought that all antique jade ornaments would pale in comparison to the magical artifacts he made. However, when he saw Qing'er's excited face, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He had been wandering around for half a year and hadn't been able to accompany her to visit the scenic spots. So, he nodded happily. On the way, Jiang Tian asked, I gave Jiang Lin a few prescriptions when I was in Hubei province and asked her to promote it. Why haven't I heard anything about it yet? You were the one who gave her those prescriptions. No wonder she argued so strongly at the company meeting. Yi Ziwei was surprised. Why are they arguing? I asked her to say that she got the prescriptions from Shenong School. With the support of Shenong School's name, why didn't the Jiang family push it? Jiang Tian was surprised. Yi Ziwei held the steering wheel and frowned. The old man's health is getting worse and worse. He has completely given up now. Now Jiang Qingfeng is in full control of the company. Last time, she argued with Jiang Qingfeng during a meeting and was fired by Jiang Qingfeng. She is only a clerk now. He's already back. Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes. Jiang Qingfeng was the son of his uncle Jiang Shouren. After studying in the United States, he worked for the international pharmaceutical giant Pfizer. He had been living abroad and was the most promising child of the Jiang family. In his previous life, Jiang Qingfeng only returned to Jinling in 2012 when the Jiang family was at its most dangerous. He wanted to turn the tide. It seemed that his return had caused a butterfly effect. History was not simply repeating itself. This guy came back early. Yes. After Jiang Qingfeng came to power, he immediately launched a bold reform. He stopped all Chinese medicine projects and focused all funds on Western medicine production, purchasing equipment and patents. Yi Ziwei said bitterly, although the Shenong clan is famous, the prescriptions you gave were still products of traditional Chinese medicine. They were still rejected by him. This kid is an idiot. But he shouldn't be so stupid. Jiang Tian frowned. Medicine King Group started with Chinese medicine products and left consumers with the same impression. Now that they had changed to Western medicine, it would cost a lot of money and was equivalent to abandoning the brand effect that they had accumulated for decades. It was a thankless task. However, Jiang Qingfeng graduated from the Ivy League Business School. He should have known this. How could he have made such a low-level mistake? Or, was there something else? So this is the reason why he didn't save Xixia Pharmaceutical Factory with the 2 billion you got from Jiang Beirong? Jiang Tian asked. Yes. Yi Ziwei nodded and said, he transferred the funds away too. Jiang Tian frowned and thought for a moment. He did not say anything. Suddenly, he said, where does the old man live now? Take me there. I'll take a look at him. Chapter 196. Jiang Changgang had retired from his position as the deputy director of the Provincial Health Committee. He was still living in the family quarters of the Department of Health. When the car stopped at the entrance of the family quarters, Jiang Tian looked at a small building and said, don't go in. Grandpa is sleeping. Let's not disturb him. You didn't go in. How do you know? Yi Ziwei couldn't believe it, but she still followed Qin Fan's instructions. The old master's condition is already very serious, showing signs of the 5 decays of heaven and man. Jiang Tian was silent for a moment, then sighed. How did you see it? That's weird. It's the same as what Grandpa said. Yi Ziwei couldn't believe it. Heaven's eye, do you believe it? Jiang Tian said with a smile. Pfft, keep bragging. Yi Ziwei rolled her eyes at Jiang Tian. She thought that Jiang Tian was just joking. Qing'er smiled but didn't say anything. Yi Ziwei asked again, Jiang Tian, Grandpa said the same thing. He said that he's not sick. He said that his time is up and he can't live anymore. What do you think? It's a piece of cake for me. Let's go. Jiang Tian waved his hand and called Yi Gufeng. He asked them to prepare some things. The Confucius Temple was a group of ancient buildings that had experienced many vicissitudes of life. It was a place to worship and worship Confucius. It was one of the 4 great Confucian temples in Huaxia, and it had a rich history and cultural heritage. The headmaster's temple was known as the Qinhuai Scenic Spot and had become the unique landscape area of the ancient capital of Jinling. It was also a well-known tourist attraction both at home and abroad. In the antique world, Confucius Temple in Jinling and Lulikang in Yanjin were located in the north and south respectively. They were like 2 stars in the sky. It was a sacred place for antique players. There were many scenic spots in the headmaster temple. The Learning Palace, the Desheng Gate, and the Desheng Hall alone were enough to take half a day. In addition, the nearby Zhanyuan Garden, the Zhonghua Gate, and the Qinhuai River were even more fascinating and tempting. Here, pedestrians weaved together, shoulder to shoulder. Many tourists followed the tour guides holding small flags to admire the scenery and take photos. In the crowd, Jiang Tian, who only had a slightly delicate face, did not stand out. However, with the 2 stunning beauties, Zhao Xueqing and Yi Ziwei, by his side, he attracted many envious and jealous gazes. After strolling for a while and eating some snacks, Jiang Tian followed Yi Ziwei to the antique city of the headmaster's temple. Behind the main hall of the headmaster's temple, there was a group of antique buildings that imitated the Ming and Qing dynasties. There were nearly 20 antique shops of various sizes hidden deep inside. There were all kinds of antiques being traded. In terms of materials, there were wooden antiques, ceramic antiques, jade antiques, jewelry antiques, metal antiques, and so on. In terms of value, there were classical furniture, for study rooms, utensils, makeup accessories, ancient coins, books, newspapers, posters, and so on. Sister Ziwei, what is this? Wonderful Stones Hall, did they sell stones? Is it a landscape stone? While strolling, Zhao Xueqing suddenly pointed to a door and asked curiously. Humph, you don't even know this. You are really a country bumpkin. Next to them, a sloppy young man got out of a Porsche Cayenne and said disdainfully. Jiang Tian found the voice a bit familiar. He looked up and could not help laughing. Jiang Chao, how dare you talk to us like this? Do you want to be beaten? Jiang Chao was the illegitimate son of his second uncle, Jiang Yangming's mistress. His second aunt was the mistress, but his father was kind and insisted on including him in the family tree. However, with his identity, it was inevitable that he would be ostracized and suppressed in the family. This also fostered his perverse and rebellious personality. He bullied people and did all kinds of evil since he was a child. However, Jiang Chao had always been afraid of Jiang Tian. At that time, Jiang Tian was the crown prince of the Medicine King group, the Demon King of the Demon Kings. After being beaten by Jiang Tian a few times, Jiang Chao became completely obedient and avoided him like a snake. Oh, it's Brother Tian. When did you come back? Sister-in-law also came back together. Jiang Chao looked at Jiang Tian and suddenly shivered. But immediately, he despised him in his heart. I am an illegitimate son, and you are an abandoned son. You are not even as good as me. When did I come back to report to you? Jiang Tian did not bother to pay attention to him. Seeing that Zhao Xueqing was a little moved, he pulled the two women into the wonderful Stones Hall. Didn't the family not allow Jiang Tian to return to Jinling? Why did he come back? I will find out the situation later and tell Big Brother. At the door, Jiang Chao looked at Jiang Tian's back and rolled his eyes for a while. Then, he followed in. It must be your first time here. Have you ever played stone gambling? No. Then let me introduce it to you. When he saw Jiang Tian and the other two enter the courtyard, a shrewd worker wearing a long robe quickly went up to them and introduced them to them. When jade or emerald was mined, it was wrapped in a layer of weathered skin. With the current technology, it was absolutely impossible to know whether it was good or bad. It must be cut to know what was hidden in it. The raw material of a piece of emerald was colored and the surface was very good. When the first cut was cut, there was green. But when the second cut was cut, the green was gone. This was also a common thing. The raw material of this kind of emerald was called uncut stone. In the emerald trading market, uncut stones were also called stones. And the trading of this kind of raw stone, because of the high risk and high profit, was full of gambling, so it was called stone gambling. Compared with stone gambling, the trading of stocks, real estate, and other risky trading were warm and paled in comparison. If you bet a jade, you could earn 10 times or 100 times, and become rich overnight. But if you bet a jade, you could also become bankrupt overnight. There were countless people who jumped off a building because of gambling. Stone gambling could be said to be one cut to hell, one cut to heaven. So there was a saying in the jewelry industry, stone gambling was like gambling with your life. And those who dared to gamble often had a strong ability to resist risks. In short, you had to be rich. Losing 100,000, 80,000, or even millions of yuan was not enough to hurt the bones. Oh, these stones are so expensive. Look, a fist-sized one costs 20 or 30,000 yuan. Zhao Xueqing held Jiang Tian's shoulder and looked at the stones on the shelf, clicking her tongue in wonder. Sister-in-law, we came here to play, so we have to spend money. With me here, what are you afraid of? You don't have to buy any stones. I'll take care of it. Jiang Chao came over and patted his chest with a smile. He was ignorant and incompetent. He took the entrance exam for a third-tier university and dropped out impatiently halfway through. However, his second uncle doted on him very much and gave him 5 or 6 million yuan to open an antique shop. He could earn 1 million yuan a year. Although he seemed very enthusiastic, there was a bit of disdain in the corner of his eyes. He heard that the Zhao family's strength was very ordinary. Today, he saw that it was true. Jiang Tian was doing too poorly. It seemed that the raw stones in the wonderful stones hall alone were worth tens of millions, but Jiang Tian did not care at all. Compared to the hundreds of billions of yuan in assets that he now controlled, it was not worth mentioning. He focused on admiring Zhao Xueqing's beautiful sparkling eyes and the gentle lines of her face. If he could make his beloved wife smile, he would buy the entire antique shop. So what? The shop assistant was also very perceptive. Seeing this, he hurriedly said, Mr. Jiang, why don't you come and play? I'm not playing. Sister Ziwei and Qing'er, if you want to play, you can bet. Jiang Tian smiled and said. He came here mainly to accompany Qing'er and Sister Ziwei. He just wanted them to have fun. This stone gambling was not challenging at all to him. He had opened his third eye when he was at the physique cultivation level and could see through everything. It could be said that he was right. Besides, he was not short of money. Seeing that Jiang Tian refused, the shop assistant was stunned. Generally speaking, men were very addicted to gambling. How could a man not gamble at a stone gambling place and let his female partner gamble? He tried to explain, Sir, there are some stones here that are half gambled. They are stones that have already been opened and have green in them. The probability of them rising is very high. Do you want to give it a try? I said, I don't play this. Jiang Tian said lightly. Seeing this, the shop assistant pursed his lips and a trace of disdain flashed in the depths of his eyes. Looking at the way he dressed, he did not look like a poor person, but he could not even afford to gamble on stones. It looked like a silver spearhead. A poor person who came out to show off. It was a waste of breath. He worked in this kind of place and was used to seeing rich young masters throw money away. His heart had long been corroded to the extreme of worshipping money. In his opinion, poor people were not qualified to enter this kind of place. Ziwei, you're here too. Suddenly, a surprised voice was heard. At the door, a young man with an extraordinary aura walked in. Behind him, there were a few young men dressed in branded clothes. They were either rich or respectable. They clustered around him like stars surrounding the moon. Young Master Chang. You're here. Please come in, please come in. I'll call our boss over. The shop assistant hurriedly bowed and greeted him. He then took out his phone as if he was about to make a call. Don't make a fuss. I'm just here for a walk. The young man who was called young Master Chang smiled faintly and waved his hand. He gave off an amiable feeling like a spring breeze. He had an elegant temperament and a noble aura on his face. It was impossible to disguise. Only a wealthy family could cultivate such an aura. Moreover, he was well-mannered and polite. He was low-key and reserved. He was different from the flamboyant and arrogant personality of the average rich second generation. Young Master Chang, I didn't expect to meet you here. I'm your loyal fan. Jiang Chao ran over like a loyal dog that had seen its master. He nodded and bowed with a fawning face. Yu Chang was one of the wealthiest young masters in Jinlin City. He was able to suppress people like Chen Bo and Sun Hao. His father used to work in the military. After he retired, he worked in the Jinlin City Political and Law Committee. He controlled more than 100,000 police forces in the province. Yu Chang was not weak either. He graduated from a famous art academy and opened an art product trading company. In a short period of time, he had accumulated billions of yuan. His achievements alone were comparable to the achievements of the entire Medicine King group. Jiang Chao, what idol fan? I'm not a celebrity. Are you here to play with your cousin? Yu Chang smiled warmly. Jiang Chao was flattered and nodded. Yu Chang moved closer to Yi Ziwei and said with a smile, Ziwei, since when are you interested in stone gambling? Oh. I'm just looking around. Yi Ziwei smiled and took Jiang Tian's arm. She pretended to be looking at stones and walked to the side. A wisp of a fierce expression flashed in the depths of Yu Chang's eyes when he saw this, and he said indifferently, this is your younger brother, Jiang Tian, right? Chapter 197. Yes, sir. Yi Ziwei's face was cold. She didn't even look at him. This woman is so arrogant. She doesn't even look at young Master Chang. She must have a death wish. Seeing this, a few of the young masters were slightly angry. They secretly complained about young Master Chang. Jiang Chao also winked at Yi Ziwei, telling her to be more friendly to young Master Chang. In Jin City, Yu Chang, who was only in his 30s, was the favorite of many young ladies. The number of people who wanted to marry him was enough to break the Yu family's door. However, Yu Chang didn't even look at them. He had always been infatuated with Yi Ziwei and tried his best to get close to her. However, Yi Ziwei was very arrogant. She didn't even look at Yu Chang. The Jiang family only had 2 billion in assets, and Jiang Shouren was the only one supporting the Jiang family. He was only the deputy inspector of the Department of Sanity, which was not an important position at all. It was only a medium-sized family in Jin City, but the Yu family was one of the top 10 families. How was young Master Chang not good enough for her? Yu Chang could only shake his head and smile bitterly. He looked at Jiang Tian again. He had heard that her feelings for her brother, who was not related by blood, were extraordinary. But what was so charming about him? His face was handsome, and his skin was not bad. However, he did not have the courage and temperament that a young master of a wealthy family should have. He had also heard that he had always been a good-for-nothing. He was ignorant and incompetent. He had caused a lot of trouble for the Jiang family. How could Ziwei be so infatuated with him? Jiang Tian, do you want to play stone gambling? If you want to, I can teach you. Yu Chang smiled and said. Teach me? What right do you have to teach me? You shameless bastard. Jiang Tian said coldly. Jiang Tian also had some impression of Yu Chang, but he didn't have a good impression of him. Although this person was not an evil person, he was extremely narrow-minded and could be said to be narrow-minded. After Jiang Zhixing was wrongfully imprisoned, he and sister Ziwei went to find Yu Chang, hoping that he could help. Who would have thought that Yu Chang, who was burning with jealousy in his heart, would show his true colors of coldness and ferocity? He mocked and ridiculed Yi Ziwei, calling her a village woman who had eyes but failed to see. Wasn't it too late for her to realize how powerful he was now? Jiang Tian still remembered that Yi Ziwei had cried all the way back. She had been deeply humiliated and blamed herself. She had even wanted to give herself to Yu Chang to save her foster father. Even though 10,000 years had passed, Jiang Tian still felt unhappy when he thought of the past. Why did he have to be nice to him? How can you say that to young Master Chang? Young Master Chang is completely kind-hearted. Did this guy eat gunpowder? He's going to attack whoever he wants. Once these words were spoken, everyone's expression changed greatly. Jiang Chao was so frightened that he almost fainted. Is this brat crazy? How dare he speak to Yu Qiangru like that? Forget it, forget it. Don't bother about it. Yu Chang raised his hand to stop his companions just as they were about to explode. Now that he had not given up on Yi Ziwei, of course, he had to show his graceful and magnanimous side. He seemed to be very concerned and said patiently, "Jiang Tian, the waters of stone gambling are very deep. Without 10 years of foundation, you can't see the door to the door. If you don't learn, your money will be wasted. It's completely a waste of money." "That's right. Young Master Chang has been in the stone gambling business for many years and has been taught by a master. Young Master Chang's stone gambling is accurate. He has almost never misjudged. It's called Iron Mouth, 1,000 gold." Many of the young masters flattered and looked at Jiang Tian with disdain, as if Jiang Tian did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Jiang Tian frowned at first, then said with a smile, "In that case, do you dare to bet with me?" "Jiang Tian, are you crazy? You dare to bet with young Master Chang?" Jiang Chao looked surprised and could not believe it. "Why wouldn't I dare? What's so great about him?" Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Jiang Chao looked at him with a "you're dead" look and did not bother to say anything more. Yu Chang was stunned at first, then laughed and said, "Jiang Tian, I've heard that you are arrogant and daring. Today, I see that it's true." He sneered and said, "But I'm afraid you don't even know the most basic knowledge of stone gambling. What do you have to compete with me? If word gets out, won't people say that I'm bullying you?" Next to him, many young masters sneered softly, as if Jiang Tian was asking for trouble. "Yes, Mr. Jiang, young Master Chang's eyes are really accurate." At this time, the boss of the Wonderful Stones Hall heard the news and came. Hearing this, he said with a smile, "Young Master Chang's family has a jade carving factory. Usually, he is in charge of selecting the raw materials. More than 10,000 raw stones have passed through his hands. He had never lost a single bet. Even several bosses in the antique street, who started their business by playing with raw stones, admit that they are not as good as young Master Chang's eyes." Seeing that the boss of the Wonderful Stones Hall admired Yu Chang, the crowd was even more disdainful of Jiang Tian. "Forget it, Jiang Tian, don't be angry with him." At this time, even Yi Ziwei felt that Jiang Tian was too impulsive. She pulled his sleeve and tried to persuade him. She knew that Jiang Tian was not an ordinary person, but Jiang Tian had never been involved in stone gambling. Who would have thought that Jiang Tian would stubbornly go his own way instead, and he said with a smile, "Who the hell does he think he is? Is he worthy of me being angry for him? If he competes with me, he will lose all his pants." Hearing this, several young masters were furious and shouted, "Young Master Chang, let's bet with him and destroy his prestige. Let him be arrogant." "Jiang Tian, how do you want to bet?" Yu Chang could not help but ask. "Don't ask about the price of the raw stones. Choose any stone. After the stone is opened, whoever has the highest price wins." Jiang Tian said lightly. "Won't you lose if you compete like this?" Immediately, many young masters looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a fool. Well, Jiang Tian, you are really arrogant." Yu Chang looked as if he was holding a divine bond. He put a car key on the stone table and said with a smile, "Since you want to bet, let's make a bet. If I lose, my newly bought Aston Martin V8 Vantage will be yours. If you lose, my car is worth 2 million yuan. If you lose, I'm afraid you can't get 2 million yuan." He glanced at Yi Ziwei and said with an evil smile, "Then let Ziwei accompany me to have a meal, okay? Young Master Chang is so cool. A super sports car worth 1 million yuan for a meal. This is the style of a domineering president. This guy doesn't dare to bet at all. If he does, won't he give his sister away?" The crowd was in an uproar. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, "Okay, I'll bet with you." "What? You are really betting?" Yu Chang's face was full of disbelief. Then, he showed a touch of joy and said, "Okay, let's start picking stones." Before he started, he didn't forget to smile at Yi Ziwei, which he thought was handsome and flirtatious, as if he had her in his pocket. Who? Who is so stupid to bet with young Master Chang? What? It's him. He looks unfamiliar. I've never seen him before. I heard he is a new player. It's his first time here. He is going against young Master Chang on his first time here. Does he think he has too much money? Many onlookers shook their heads and sighed. Some were gloating. They all thought that Jiang Tian was going to lose. After the bet was set, the next step was to choose the stones. Many stone gamblers heard the news and came to see this super bet. Accompanied by Mr. Tang of the Fantastic Stones Hall, Yu Chang took out a magnifying glass and started to pick stones. In the stone gambling business, the water was very deep. Counterfeiting was serious, and there were pits everywhere. One could use dyes to add color, fill lead to increase weight, or directly paste a thin layer of jade on the window of the half-gambling raw stone, etc. It looked like a treasure, but after cutting it open, it was a white board. Mr. Tang also had a lot of fake raw stones in his shop, but he had a good relationship with Yu Chang, so he naturally helped him to choose the real good stones. Based on this point alone, Yu Chang had the upper hand. Young Master Chang, this half-gambling raw stone is good. Now I can see that it is of the high ice type. The water head is good, and the depth is so deep that I can't see the bottom. Mr. Tang took out a stone and showed it to Yu Chang. But the price is a bit expensive. It's 1 million yuan. Well, looking at the pine flower and python belt, it should be good material. The skin is also very thin. The iron sand shell should be the material of the old pit of Peigang. Yu Chang rubbed the stone, took out a delicate magnifying glass with a brass handle, and carefully looked inside through the window with a small highlight flashlight. He muttered to himself, I can't see the bottom at first glance. Judging from the depth, it should be about 10 centimeters square. It's not small. Young Master Chang has a good eye. It's the material of the old pit of Peigang. It's not easy to find such old materials nowadays. Mr. Tang gave a thumbs up and praised. See? He's an expert. Look at his equipment. You can't compare with him. Well, I've seen this stone. It's definitely jade. Brother, you're going to lose. Brother, give up. Don't bet with him. In this generation of the antique city, there are only a few people who have a better eye than him. The stone he chose is the treasure of the wonderful Stones Hall. It's worth more than 1 million yuan. Many young masters and onlookers were talking. Some were full of sarcasm, some were sarcastic, some shook their heads and sighed, and some were bitter. While talking, Yu Chang had already patted the stone and made a decision. I'll choose this one. Transfer the money. Mr. Tang immediately asked the shop assistant to bring a wireless POS machine. Yu Chang's assistant swiped the card and transferred the money. The deal was done, and the rest was to cut the stone to see the truth. Although Yu Chang was a scheming person, he couldn't hide his pride now that victory was in his hands. He glanced at Jiang Tian and said with a smile, Jiang Tian, which stone will you choose? Jiang Tian glanced around and then walked toward the rockery in the yard. What's this kid doing? Everyone was stunned and didn't know what was going on. Jiang Tian kicked a beige, square stone that looked like a brick under the rockery and asked, how much is this? How much? The shrewd shop assistant looked at Mr. Tang in shock and didn't know how to answer. This was not a raw stone at all. It was a landscape stone. There was no possibility of jade coming out of it. Ha! Ha! Many of the stone gambling players present laughed like pigs at this moment. This yellow stone didn't have any green hair on it. There was no pine flower, no belt, no phosphorus, no moss, no. All the possibilities of jade were denied. Chapter 198. Boss Tang rubbed his forehead with his hand, trying to cover up and suppress his laughter. He shook his head silently, which meant that it was up to him. The shop assistant hesitated for a moment, then slowly stretched out 3 fingers, which meant that it was 300 yuan. At this moment, he felt a sense of humiliation. It would be shameful for him to sell a 300 yuan stone in the wonderful stones hall. You're selling such an ordinary stone at such a high price? Jiang Tian was stunned for a moment, and then he started to bargain. When the shop assistant heard this, he almost spat out blood. You think a 300 yuan stone is too expensive? He suppressed the urge to beat him up and said with a smile, then tell me, how much? 300,000. No, I'll give you 30,000 at most. Jiang Tian said with a serious face. At this moment, the shop assistant felt that his head was really big. His heart of stone, which had been tempered by killing countless people, was a little shaken. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry, nodded, and let Jiang Tian swipe his bank card. Although in the stone gambling house, one was willing to be beaten and one was willing to be beaten, the onlookers could still easily judge that this was a brain-damaged person. Seeing that he spoke so arrogantly, perhaps there was something wrong with his brain. Well, Jiang Tian finally got rid of the crazy Jiang hat in Linzhou, and now he was back in Jinling. He proudly wore it again. All that was left was the stone-cutting segment. Several masters scrambled to Yuchang's side. As for Jiang Tian's side, the stone-cutting masters didn't seem to want to come over. They looked at him with contempt as if he was a beggar. In the stone-cutting industry, it was like a prostitute who found a good stone, and the buyer happened to be a generous person. It was possible that the buyer would give a reward of tens of thousands of yuan if he cut out a piece of jade. Stone gambling was more or less superstitious. It paid attention to good luck and bad luck. The stone-cutting masters always cut out bad stones. Over time, the reputation of having bad hands spread, and people didn't want to look for them anymore. After a long time, one of the masters was pushed to Jiang Tian's side. He did not give any opinions and asked, "Sir, how do you want to cut it?" The normal procedure for stone cutting was to first rub the surface and look at the surface characteristics of the jade, such as the direction of the emerald color, the development and direction of the cracks, the distribution of the emerald and purple colors, the appearance of fog, the analysis and estimation of the changes in the water, the appearance of the raw stone, and other characteristics. Now, he had directly transitioned to the concept of cutting. The meaning of this guy's question was, "Hurry up, I still have to cut off a piece." Jiang Tian stepped forward and drew a line in the middle. Everyone roared with laughter. Wasn't this too much? Describing him as a vegetable was too much of a compliment. He was simply an idiot. Jiang Chao tugged at Zhao Xueqing and pretended to be concerned. "Sister-in-law, I heard from the grapevine that my brother Tian had a mental illness in Linzhou. Is this true?" After fixing the stone-cutting master seemed to be a little absent-minded. Fortunately, he was quite skilled and basically met Jiang Tian's requirements. When the sound of the saw blade rubbing against the stone became the sound of the saw blade itself turning, no one paid any attention to it. When the wheel of fate was destined to reach its end, expecting a miracle to happen was a very childish thing to do. Suddenly, a woman in sunglasses in the crowd screamed, "Ah!" as if it was the first time her chrysanthemum had been pierced. First, it was the initial pain, then it was a huge surprise. She saw a touch of soul-stirring green. It was delicate and tender, so lustrous and translucent. After seeing the nature of the clear jade, everyone was petrified. The immortal's body freezing curse and the martial arts pressure points did not have this effect. The stone-cutting master instantly felt his entire body drenched in sweat. His hands trembled and he almost wanted to cry. He did not have any strength in his body. It was as if he had just experienced a bungee jump. Fortunately, the cut was not bad. A slight deviation. Then it would not be a problem of whether he could continue living or not. The scene was silent. For a moment, everyone was dumbfounded and did not dare to make a sound. "What's wrong?" Yu Chang turned his head and asked a little irritably. His stones had also begun to cut. However, each cut was broken. Apart from the layer of high ice on the surface, the inside was all chaff. It was powdery and granular, as if it had just been broken. Now that he had cut more than half of the stone, there was still no sign of jade. This made him very puzzled and frustrated. There's imperial glass jade over there. Boss Tang found that his voice was trembling very badly. Imperial glass jade. At this moment, Yu Chang felt as if he had been punched hard. He staggered back a step. My hands are shaking. Jiang Tian's stone-cutting master said apologetically with a sad face. I'll do it myself. Jiang Tian operated the stone-cutting machine and cut it as if he was cutting cabbage. When the sparkling and translucent jade was completely peeled out and held in his hand, the blazing hot sky seemed to cool down because of the green. On the other side, Yu Chang had also finished cutting the stone. It was all over, and not a single piece of jade could be seen. The stone gambling agreement, Jiang Tian won. And he won so thoroughly. Everyone's eyes popped out. They were stunned and couldn't believe it. The result was beyond everyone's expectations. He's a master. He's got the imperial glass jade in one shot, and it's such a big one. He's hiding his strength. His eyes are so sharp. I'm afraid there are few people in the stone gambling circle in Huaxia who can compare with him. Everyone exclaimed in amazement. Boss Tang, who had previously asserted that Jiang Tian would lose as an expert, blushed and felt that his face was swollen because of Jiang Tian's slap. How did he see the imperial glass jade in this landscape stone? The shop assistant also had a look of disbelief. Could it be that Jiang Tian really knows how to gamble on stones? When did he learn this skill? Jiang Tian also looked at Jiang Tian in a daze. Besides being shocked, he was also full of envy and jealousy. He's probably just lucky. Yu Chang snorted. He was very unconvinced. Mr. Jiang, can you sell this jade to me? I'm willing to pay 15 million yuan. Boss Tang was a businessman after all. He quickly collected his emotions and went forward with a cheerful face. He cupped his fists and said flatteringly. His wonderful stone hall had been open for many years, but it had always lacked a treasure. This imperial glass jade was definitely qualified. I'm not selling it. Jiang Tian didn't even look at him. He looked at Zhao Xueqing with a smile and said, Qinger, do you want it? Forget it. You can give it to Sister Ziwei. I already have the 8 blessings necklace. Zhao Xueqing said with a smile. Okay, Sister Ziwei, catch. Jiang Tian threw the jade to Yi Ziwei as if he was throwing garbage. Oh! Looking at the jade drawing a beautiful arc in the air, everyone's eyes moved up and down. They exclaimed and some even jumped. This is a treasure worth tens of millions. You just throw it out like that? You really don't care about money. It was not until Yi Ziwei caught the jade that everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Their hearts were finally at ease. Jiang Tian walked calmly to Yu Chang and said calmly, Yu Chang, where's the car key? The muscles on Yu Chang's mouth twitched. He was heartbroken. This car was worth more than 2 million yuan. His money did not grow on trees. He was really unwilling to lose it to Jiang Tian. However, Yi Ziwei was in front of him. He could not go back on his words. He concealed the viciousness in his eyes and handed the car key to Jiang Tian. He forced a smile and said, Okay, I'll accept my loss. Take it. Jiang Tian, you can't take it. Jiang Chao stomped his feet anxiously. If Jiang Tian took the car key, it would mean that he had a grudge with Yu Chang. With Yu Chang's narrow-minded personality, it was very likely that he would take revenge on Jiang Tian, and even the Jiang family. Yi Ziwei was also hesitant. She wanted to say something but stopped on second thought. She knew that Jiang Tian was a martial arts master and was quite famous in Jiangbei. However, this was Jin City, Yu Chang's world. Why can't I take it? Remember this, Yu Chang. It is your honor that I take your things. Jiang Tian ignored Yi Ziwei and Jiang Chao's warning look. He took the car key and walked away. Hiss. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, dumbfounded. Jiang Tian is too brave. How dare he take Yu Chang's car key? A young master mumbled. Isn't he afraid that Yu Chang will kill him? Someone else was shocked. Jiang Tian, are you crazy? Hurry up and return it. Jiang Chao's face was filled with astonishment and shock as he looked at Jiang Tian's back and shouted. Not to mention the juniors like him and Jiang Tian, even his father, Jiang Yangming, had to be courteous when he saw Yu Chang. After all, Yu Chang's father controlled the political and legal system. Who dared to offend him? Yu Chang's face was gloomy and a hint of displeasure flashed in his eyes. He then pretended to be generous and waved his hand. Jiang Chao, forget it. It's just a sports car. I don't care about it. He really didn't want to stay here. He asked his companion, by the way, have young Master Tang and young Master Feng arrived? They have arrived at the 6th Dynasty's tea house. The companion hurriedly said. Everyone, I have something to do. I'll leave first. Yu Chang nodded and hid his displeasure and disappointment. He quickly walked out of the wonderful Stones Hall. The residence of the 6th Dynasty's tea house was located right in front of the Ming Yuan building of the tribute compound. It had 2 floors, decorated with flying eaves and painted rafters, and carved window frames. It had an antique flavor, and it had the lingering charm of the 6 dynasties, giving people a sense of elegance and depth. There was a couplet at the door. Near the master's residence, you can eat fine food, you can eat fine food, on the left bank of the Qinhuai River, you can grow with the flowers and the moon. It was made by a contemporary master of calligraphy and painting. There were many famous paintings hanging in the hall. This place was famous far and wide. Many literati came to drink tea and chat. The owner of the tea house would ask for calligraphy treasures. Any one of these famous paintings could be sold for millions of yuan. On the 2nd floor, there was a tea house near the river. There were 8 immortals' manor, old rattan chairs, and a pot of good Longjing tea before the Ming dynasty. The fragrance was faint. The warm wind made the tea house drunk. It was a good place for friends to gather. Yu Chang walked in carefully and saw 2 men chatting in a low voice beside the boxwood tea table. It was like an old tree with roots and flying dragons in the sky. There were 3 beautiful women in Cheongsam beside them. One of them, who was the tallest and most beautiful, was concentrating on making tea in a kneeling position. She carefully watched the heat and controlled the temperature. The other 2 stood behind their respective men and didn't dare to breathe. One of them was a tall, heroic, and valiant man who was sitting in the lower seat. Beside him was a tall woman who was wearing a Prada business suit. At the head of the table was a Buddhist-like man wearing a yellow long gown and soft cloth shoes. He had a bald head and his eyes were half closed. He had a benevolent appearance and spoke in a low voice. However, the man and woman leaned forward and listened carefully. Beside them sat a few bosses in the antique industry. They were all famous in Jinling. Each of them had a few antiques beside them. However, they were clearly not in the eyes of these 2 gods. Looking at the man, Yu Chang felt uneasy. He was nervous and clicked his tongue. This should be the legendary Tang Shaozi from Yangcheng. He was really powerful. He had only been in Jinling for a few months, but even Guo Yinlin and Gu Siyu had to be polite to him. Chapter 199. Young Master Guo, Miss Gu, I'm sorry for being late. Yu Chang's heart skipped a beat. He stepped forward and bowed slightly with a warm smile on his face. Little Guo, have a seat. Guo Yinlin nodded slightly without even looking at Yu Chang. He was full of arrogance and didn't take Yu Chang seriously. However, Yu Chang wasn't angry at all. He smiled and sat down. Guo Yinlin's father was the second in command in Jinling's military. Yu Chang's father used to be Guo Yinlin's father's subordinate. Guo Yinlin was ranked in the top 3 among Jinling's young masters. Yu Chang was ranked in the top 20 and could be considered Guo Yinlin's little brother. Plus, the relationship between the two families made him respect Guo Yinlin. Tang Xiaozi smiled politely and said, "Young Master Chang, I heard young Master Guo say that you're in the antique business." "You flatter me. Just call me Little Chang. It's just a small business with a few billion. I can't be compared to young Master Tang." "Please don't embarrass me," Yu Chang said humbly with a smile. "It's already very good. You should be content with what you have." Tang Xiaozi smiled like a Maitreya Buddha. He hesitated for a moment and said, "Do you know anything about magic artifacts?" "Magic artifacts?" Yu Chang was slightly surprised and shook his head. "I'm sorry, I've never seen one before." Tang Xiaozi's face was filled with disappointment and worry. He sighed and said, "If you can't find a magic artifact, how can Master Kong be satisfied?" "Young Master Tang, I'm sorry. I didn't do a good job." Guo Yinlin said apologetically. "Young Master Guo, it's not your fault. Actually, the things you brought are priceless in the eyes of ordinary people. They can be passed down as family heirlooms." Tang Xiaozi bitterly sighed, but that Grandmaster Jiang is a godlike figure in the heavens. If we want to send it to his family as his grandfather's birthday gift, it's far from enough. After that, the two of them put their heads together and whispered to each other mysteriously. They talked about things like Master Kong, Jiangbei faction, Princess Flower, cultivation resources, the military attaché's great importance to him, and so on. Who is this Master Kong? It seems that even the Guo family and the Tang family are trying their best to curry favor with him. They want to celebrate his grandfather's birthday or something. Yu Chang's mind was filled with confusion, and he couldn't get a word in edgewise. The girl with long black hair and bright eyes and white teeth was called Gu Siyu, Guo Yinlin's girlfriend. They were like a golden couple, a perfect match. Gu Siyu turned to look at Yu Chang and said with a smile that was not a smile, "Yu Chang, was there a traffic jam just now? Young Master Guo called you and you dared to be late." Yu Chang's heart tightened. He bowed slightly and said with an embarrassed smile, "Miss Gu, don't mention it. It's bad luck. I bumped into Yi Ziwei at the wonderful stone hall and we chatted for a while. I lost a game of stone gambling with her trashy younger brother. He respected Gu Siyu very much. Her grandfather used to be the deputy governor of Su province. She herself was an important person in the Jin city's business circle, and she was also a successful businesswoman. In Jinling, she could be said to be a socialite in Jinling. Which Yi Ziwei? Jiang Zhixing's adopted daughter. What's her younger brother's name? Is it Jiang Tian? Yu Chang asked casually. He didn't expect Tang Xiaozi to jump to his feet and exclaim in shock. What happened? Even Guo Yinlin's face changed dramatically. It's him. Young Master Tang also knows him. Yu Chang didn't expect young Master Tang to have such a big reaction. Tang Xiaozi's body trembled uncontrollably. He glanced at the other owners of the antique shop. Gu Siyu immediately understood and stood up. She smiled politely and said, "I'll have to trouble you to make a trip here. That's all for today. If you have any Dharma artifacts, please contact me. The price is not a problem." "Miss Gu, it's no trouble at all. Young Master Tang, young Master Guo, we will leave now." The few bosses bowed and cupped their fists. After a few polite words, they quietly left the tea house with the three maids in Cheongsam. Gu Siyu quickly closed the door. Suppressing his anger, Guo Yinlin frowned and shouted, "Are you still pursuing Yi Ziwei? You bumped into her and Jiang Tian again today?" "Yes, did you do anything overboard?" Guo Yinlin frowned and asked anxiously. "No, I asked her out a few times, but she didn't come out. She even asked the flower shop to send her roses." Yu Chang felt something was wrong. Guo Yinlin's eyes were murderous. I lost my sports car to Jiang Tian, but I didn't do anything overboard. We just exchanged a few words. He never thought that there was anything wrong with him chasing after Yiziwei. Jiang Zhixing was just a divisional leader, and Zhang Wanqing's assets were just so. She would be marrying him. He wanted to make a joke to ease the tense atmosphere. Young Master Guo, since when are you so concerned about my personal matters? I don't think you've ever introduced a girlfriend to me. Don't be so cheeky. Do you know you're in big trouble? He's Master Kong of Jiangbei. Guo Yinlin slammed the table and shouted angrily. It's over. You've offended Master Kong. You're going to die without a burial place. Tang Xiaozi shook his head and sighed. Young Master Guo, if Master Kong wants to punish me, you have to testify that this has nothing to do with me. What? Jiang Tian is Master Kong of Jiangbei? Yu Chang suddenly understood. He couldn't help but shiver. His face was ashen. He couldn't believe it. He was in the antique business and had traveled extensively to collect antiques. He was well informed. How could he not have heard of Master Jiang of Jiangbei, who had recently risen to prominence? Even in his antique shop, people often talked about this mysterious Master Kong. However, he couldn't connect the Master Kong of Jiangbei with Jiang Tian, who was known as a good-for-nothing in Jinling. Normally, Yu Chang was rather filial to Gu Siyu. At this moment, Gu Siyu couldn't help but put in a few good words for him. She smiled and said, Yinlin, don't scare Yu Chang. On account of the two of you, Grandmaster Jiang shouldn't do anything to Yu Chang, right? Yeah, Yu Chang also regained his senses and smiled. I heard that Grandmaster Jiang cured Elder Tang of Lin Zhou's strange illness and has a good relationship with Yiziwei's father, Yi Gufeng. However, no matter how strong he is, how can he be a match for the Guo and Tang families? Hee, see you think too highly of us. Master Kong is going to give us face. Guo Yinlin shook his head and said with a sad and self-deprecating face. The two of us are not even worthy of carrying Master Kang's shoes. Even my father and young Master Tang's father, Master Kong doesn't have to give face. What? He is so powerful. Gu Siyu and Yu Chang couldn't believe it. He is a martial arts grandmaster at the peak of the transcendent state. He has killed several martial arts grandmasters, including Wei Shuofeng and Mo Haoxiong. Tang Xiaozi heaved a sigh. He couldn't help but tremble in fear. What is a martial arts grandmaster and a calligraphy master? Yu Chang was the son of a government official. He was used to dealing with rich and powerful people. Therefore, he knew nothing about martial arts or dharma spells. What is it? Tang Xiaozi's face was filled with fear. It is an inhuman power. He can condense qi into a weapon and kill people from 100 miles away. He is not someone we can afford to offend. This, Yu Chang couldn't believe it. He wanted to say, isn't this just a novel? But seeing Tang Xiaozi's serious face, he had no choice but to believe it. Gu Siyu was not convinced. She smiled and said, no matter how powerful he is just a Jianghu cultivator. How can he fight against the police and the military? Xiao Gu, you have underestimated him. He was once the martial arts consultant of War Dragon. He even had the chance to be the head sergeant of War Dragon. Guo Yinlin's face was solemn and full of respect. What is War Dragon? Yu Chang and Gu Siyu were confused again. War Dragon is directly under the general staff. It is the trump card of the military. If he was the head sergeant, he could be promoted to major general within 3 years. But he politely declined. Guo Yinlin sighed with deep emotion. Promoted to major general within 3 years? Doesn't that mean he became a major general before the age of 30? This is unheard of in Huaxia. Gu Siyu covered her red lips. Her eyes almost popped out of their sockets. She couldn't believe it at all. Even if she didn't know much about the military, she knew what it meant to be a general. Especially in a large country like Huaxia, a general's status was extremely high. He was equivalent to the head of a small country. He could make hundreds of millions of rich people bow their heads and make the officials treat him with respect. This is a special case. Normal people don't know about it. Guo Yinlin frowned. What should I do? Yu Chang was dumbfounded. Cold sweat poured out of his forehead like a small stream. He was almost on the verge of tears. This time, young Master Tang and I called you here not for us, but for the Guo clan and the Tang clan. We are going to celebrate the birthday of Grand Master Zhang's grandfather, Jiang Changgang, and look for suitable gifts. Guo Yinlin said earnestly. Gu Siyu and Yu Chang were stunned again. They were completely petrified. Even at their peak, the Jiang family was not in the top 20 in Jin City. They were a far cry from the Guo family, not to mention the Tang family in Yangcheng. Now, Jiang Tian had relied on his own strength to make the Tang clan and Guo clan pay homage to him. What kind of achievement was this? What kind of heaven-defying achievement was this? Sigh. Compared to him, I am just a vice president of the Provincial Capital Investment Company. I am only in charge of a few billion assets. Gu Siyu sighed. She admired Jiang Tian from the bottom of her heart. Tell me everything in detail. Don't leave out any details. Guo Yinlin asked Yu Chang to describe the process of stone gambling with Jiang Tian. Chapter 200. Guo Yinlin frowned and pondered for a long time. He took out 2 cigarettes and sighed. Apologize to Yi Ziwei first and tell her that you won't harass her anymore. Then, prepare some gifts. Okay. I don't care how much it costs. Yu Chang wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and agreed. Master Kong doesn't care about antiques and jades at all. Tang Xiaozi shook his head and said with certainty, I think we should contact a few of the big shots in Jiangbei and see what Grandmaster Jiang needs. We should cater to his liking. No problem. As long as we can mend our relationship with Master Kong, I'm willing to spend all my money. Young masters, you must help me. Yu Chang was like a drowning man who had caught a life-saving straw. His face was full of pleading as he hurriedly promised. What? That brat Jiang Tian won a sports car from young Master Yu? In the chairman's office of the Medicine King Group, Jiang Qingfeng was so shocked that he jumped up from his leather chair. Yeah, it's an Aston Martin V8 Vantage. It's brand new. It's a limited edition car in Huaxia. It's Yu Chang's favorite. Jiang Chao shook his head and said. Sigh, he can't do anything right. Jiang Qingfeng's face was livid with anger. He slapped the desk and shouted angrily, Isn't it enough to offend a young master from Yanjing? Do you want to offend all the people in Jinling? This is pushing the Jiang family into a fire pit. He immediately asked his secretary to contact Yu Chang's assistant to apologize in person and clean up the mess for his good-for-nothing cousin. When Jiang Qingfeng and Jiang Chao arrived at the Six Dynasties residence tea house, Tang Xiaozi, Guo Yinlin, and the others were coming downstairs. Jiang Qingfeng hurried to greet them and said, Master Chang, I'm so sorry. He bowed to Guo Yinlin but did not dare to greet him. He was not qualified to talk to Guo Yinlin directly. Mr. Jiang, it's just 1 hour. Don't take it to heart, Yu Chang said with a smile. Hearing the 2 words, Mr. Jiang, Jiang Qingfeng was flattered and quickly said with a happy face, I apologize for the stone gambling. I will definitely ask him to return the car to you. He has been expelled from his family for more than 3 years and hasn't returned to Jinling for a long time, so he might not know your identity. What do you mean I don't know? He's been left alone since he was young, so he's developed a condescending personality and doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Jiang Chao had a look of disdain on his face. It was as if his status in the Jiang family would be higher if he trampled on Jiang Tian. Seeing this, Tang Xiaozi and Guo Yinlin looked at each other meaningfully. Yu Chang also frowned without leaving a trace. It seemed that Master Kong wasn't doing too well in the clan. Moreover, Jiang Qingfeng and Jiang Chao seemed to have some prejudice against him. Brothers used to fight for power and trample on each other. Born in a rich and powerful family, they had seen too much of this. Let's have dinner together tonight. Take it as my apology on behalf of my good-for-nothing cousin. Jiang Qingfeng invited him enthusiastically. Forget it, we still have things to do. Let's chat another day. Yu Chang's face suddenly turned cold. Gui Yinlin and Tang Xiaozi walked away as if they were avoiding snakes and scorpions. Originally, they wanted to take the opportunity to befriend Jiang Qingfeng, but now they had made up their minds to stay away from these two ignorant fellows so that Master Kong wouldn't misunderstand. Master Chang, please don't take it to heart. This guy is a good-for-nothing who causes trouble every day. Jiang Qingfeng even chased after him to apologize. Next to them, Gu Siyu sneered in her heart. Her eyes were full of disdain. Ha, they are really blind. An expert is right next to them, but they don't know at all. Jiang Tian drove the Aston Martin ostentatiously through the city with his beautiful wife, Xiao Xueqing, sitting next to him. It was very eye-catching. They went all the way home. After getting out of the car, Jiang Tian said, "You can drive this car. I still have a Rolls-Royce Phantom." Yi Ziwei said worriedly, "Jiang Tian, let's return the car. I'm afraid Qingfeng and the others will make a big fuss about it. Let him do it. If he doesn't do it, he won't die. If he wants to die, he's asking for it." Jiang Tian said disdainfully. Sigh. Yi Ziwei knew the nature of her uncle's family, but Jiang Tian was so insistent that she could only sigh helplessly. When they got home, Yi Ziwei found that Jiang Zhixing did not look too good, but Zhang Wanqing was calmer. "Mom, Dad, we're back." Jiang Tian greeted them nonchalantly. "What did you buy?" Jiang Zhixing asked with a frown. "Nothing much. The things are too bad. But don't worry, Dad, Mom, I've already prepared a gift. It will definitely make Grandpa very happy." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. "I heard that you went stone gambling." Jiang Zhixing asked with a gloomy face. Yi Ziwei was shocked. She quickly tried to make up for Jiang Tian with a smile. "Dad, Mom, don't blame Jiang Tian. He won the bet and won an Emperor Glass Jade. Even if he won 100 million, it's still not a good thing." Jiang Zhixing's face was ashen. He glared at Jiang Tian and shook his head in disappointment. "It's been a few years, but you still can't change your gambling habit." "Dad, Jiang Tian has never gambled in Linzhou. I wanted to play today, so he brought me in." Qing'er also spoke for Jiang Tian. "Don't speak for him," Jiang Zhixing shouted. He then slammed the table and asked, "I heard that you gambled with Yu Chang and won a sports car." "Yes. Do you know that his father is Secretary of the Political and Legal Committee? How can we afford to offend him?" "Jiang Tian, you disappoint me. You're already 25 years old. Don't tell me you still don't know what's important." Jiang Zhixing was so angry that his face turned pale. "Zhixing, is this Jiang Tian's fault? What did he do wrong?" Zhang Wanqing doted on Jiang Tian. She was unhappy when she heard her father's words. Seeing that his parents were about to quarrel, Jiang Tian raised his hand helplessly. "All right, stop quarreling. I'll send it to them tomorrow." Jiang Zhixing shook his head and sighed. He wanted to say something but stopped himself. In the end, he walked into the room angrily. "Xiao Tian, don't argue with your dad. He's just a stubborn old man. He doesn't know how aggressive young people can be." Zhang Wanqing held Jiang Tian's hand and comforted him gently. "I won't argue with him." Jiang Tian smiled. His dad didn't know his strength and was worried that he would be taken advantage of. As the saying goes, love is love. After resting for a while, it was night time. Zhang Wanqing came to Jiang Tian's room and sighed. Your eldest and second uncles want us to go to a restaurant for dinner. They want to discuss the birthday celebration for your grandfather. They specifically asked you to go. Fine, I'll go. Jiang Tian stood up happily. They'll definitely ask you about the stone gambling. When the time comes, you have to admit your mistake. Zhang Wanqing was worried. She then asked Jiang Zhixing and Qing'er to go out together. Yi Ziwei didn't like to interact with the Jiang family. She said that she had to work overtime and went to the company. The location of the gathering was a private restaurant in the family courtyard of the Department of Sanity. It was very secluded and the environment was very quiet. It was like a manor. There were rockery, strange stones, waterside pavilions, and covered bridges. Around the 1-acre square pond, the landscape lights sprinkled colorful lights. Fat fish swam in the water, and there were a few lotuses. They entered a huge private room. Except for the old man, everyone was there. Eldest uncle Jiang Shuren's family, second uncle Jiang Yangming's family, eldest aunt Jiang Dingxiang's family, and youngest aunt Jiang Baiji's family. The old man's naming was very unique. Girls liked to use Chinese medicine names, which showed his love for Chinese medicine. Jiang Changgang had 3 sons and 2 daughters. Jiang Zhixing was the 3rd son. He had 2 older brothers and 2 younger sisters. Jiang Qingfeng was the son of eldest uncle Jiang Shuren. Each of these families had a few heirs, and the 50 to 60 square meters of private rooms were filled to the brim. It could be said that they were all gathered together. Jiang Tian looked at them with a calm expression. This family couldn't even be compared to the Tang family and Bai family in Lingnan, let alone the Zhang family in Yanjing. No wonder his grandfather's family opposed his mother's marriage. When Jiang Tian was sizing up the crowd also looked at Jiang Tian with a complicated expression. There was some jealousy and some disdain. In their opinion, Jiang Tian was ignorant and incompetent. He beat up the young master of Yanjing and caused a disaster. He was not qualified to return to the family. But they didn't expect the old man to allow him to come back. He even asked about it many times. It seemed that he was biased. This guy offended Yu Chang. How dare he come here? Isn't he afraid of being scolded? Jiang Qingfeng and Jiang Chao curled their lips. They were extremely disdainful of Jiang Tian. Zhixing, sit down. Jiang Shuren, who was nearly 50 years old, waved his hand. As the saying went, the eldest brother was like a father. Since the old man was not here, he was obviously in charge. Moreover, Jiang Shuren was now a deputy inspector in the Department of Sanity. He had the highest official position in the family. After the old man retired, he was the one who supported the Jiang family. Eldest brother, eldest sister-in-law, second brother, second sister-in-law. Jiang Zhixing and Zhang Wanqing greeted everyone. Zhao Xueqing also greeted them. But Jiang Tian's face was cold. He stood behind them with his hands behind his back and was too lazy to talk. There was a bit of disdain and anger in his heart. In fact, these elders were not as good as his cousin Jiang Lin. Back then, the Jiang family was on the verge of collapse. Most of the elders, such as first uncle and second uncle, wanted to divide the family property. Only Jiang Lin and Yi Ziwei, who were adopted daughters of different surnames, fought with their mother to the last moment. In the crowd, when the crowd saw that Jiang Tian was so rude, they all revealed expressions of dissatisfaction. Jiang Lin was also sitting in the corner, but she had been stripped of her position by Jiang Qingfeng. She didn't dare to talk to Jiang Tian at all. Uncle Jiang Tian, did you bring me a gift? Only Jiang Wan, the daughter of Jiang Chen's aunt, greeted him. She was only 7 or 8 years old. She didn't know that everyone disliked Jiang Tian. She only knew that this uncle loved her very much and would give her a few hundred yuan every year during the spring festival. Wan, come and sit next to me. Jiang Tian sat down, pulled Jiang Wan over, and gave her a big red envelope. After Jiang Tian and his family took their seats, Jiang Shuren smiled and said, now that Qing Feng is carrying out bold and decisive reforms in Yaowang Group, of course, he can't do without everyone's support. Chapter 201. Qing Feng deserves to be called a sea turtle. Well done. Everyone looked at Jiang Qingfeng with admiring gazes and praised him. Jiang Qingfeng was also very polite. Jiang Shuren's face was full of joy as he said, then, let's also hold a grand celebration for the old man's 70th birthday this time. Everyone, if you have any good old friends, please call them all over. We have to tell all the big families in Jinling that our Jiang family is doing well. Ha, big brother, you are a deputy director. You have a lot of connections. If you say something, many people will come. Second aunt looked at Jiang Shuren and said flatteringly. Yes, big brother, you have been fighting steadily for the past few years. Your achievements are very obvious. I think you can be the director before you retire. Second uncle Jiang Yangming also flattered. Then, he slammed the table and said, when big brother becomes the director, I want to see if any hospital dares to not buy our products. It will scare them to death. Jiang Shuren smiled proudly and said, those famous Chinese doctors and the bosses of pharmaceutical companies are nothing. This time, I will try to invite 1 or 2 big leaders from the province or city. It will be different if people like them come. That's right. Our Jiang family's prestige will be established. Everyone was instantly excited. As they chatted, First Aunt suddenly laughed and said, now that you've been promoted to knowledge executor and become a county magistrate, you don't have to hide your connections and resources. Let's strengthen the Jiang family's prestige. Everyone looked at Jiang Zhixing and his family with ridicule in their eyes. They wanted to see how the third son of the Jiang family would respond. Jiang Zhixing was only a deputy county magistrate in charge of agriculture. He had only been in office for a few months. What kind of big shots could he know? A small county magistrate couldn't be compared to a director with real power in the provincial office. The people he knew were on a different level. Second aunt sneered and said with disdain, knowledge executor's starting point is too low. Qixia County is a godforsaken place. What kind of achievements can he make? What kind of big shots can he know? Hearing this, Zhang Wanqing frowned and said, Zhixing, didn't the Guo family of Nanyang invest in the county? I'm afraid, we won't be able to invite them. Jiang Zhixing shook his head bitterly. When Guo Lily decided to invest, it was indeed because of him, and the credit was also given to him. But from then on, she never showed her face in Qixia County again. She only sent a few executives here to build factories. Moreover, the Guo family was the god of wealth. The leaders of the county could not wait to flatter them, so how would they dare to trouble them? Zhixing, you have to understand that if the water is too clear, there will be no fish. It's not enough to rely on the pride of a scholar. You have to build a good relationship with all parties. Look, the Guo family is investing in your county, and you can't even invite them. This ability, TSK. Second aunt shook her head, her face full of sorrow and anger. She clicked her tongue and pursed her lips. That's right, third uncle. You worked for 20 years and only became a deputy director. Look, Sister Banksia has only worked for a few years and she is already a deputy director. You're rising too slowly, like a turtle. Jiang Chao also pursed his lips and chattered. His eyebrows were raised to the point that they almost flew to the sky. Suddenly, everyone began to mock and advise Jiang Zhixing. Even Jiang Chao, a junior, began to criticize Jiang Zhixing. The Jiang Banksia he was referring to was the daughter of his eldest uncle, Jiang Qingfeng's younger sister. This woman graduated from Shuimu University with a degree in finance. She was now the deputy director of the investment department of the Provincial Investment Corporation. According to her position, she was also a deputy director. She was one of the best among the third-generation children. Hearing this, Jiang Zhixing's face was full of embarrassment. He was originally happy that he had been promoted, but who would have thought that in the eyes of his brothers, sisters-in-law, and even these juniors, he was climbing at the speed of a turtle. He couldn't even compare to his niece, which made him seem even more stupid. Zhang Wanqing, who had a strong personality, was even more livid. It was as if a layer of frost had covered her face. She was about to retort when she heard a voice full of arrogance and coldness. What's a mere city hall level official? If I say the word, my dad will be at his fingertips. It's just that my dad wants to rely on his own achievements and doesn't want to be opportunistic. What did you say? Everyone looked at Jiang Tian in unison, and they all sucked in a breath of cold air, not daring to believe it. This was too arrogant. The city hall level official was a high position and many people were eyeing it. The competition was fierce, but for Jiang Tian, it was like taking something out of his pocket. Pfft! Suddenly, Jiang Chao, who had been pouting for a long time, spat out a mouthful of tea on the table, causing everyone to scream and curse. Jiang Chao apologized and wiped the table. He looked at Zhao Xueqing and asked, Sister-in-law Qing'er, I heard from Lin Zhou's friend that my brother Tian has lost his mind. Is this true? What's the matter, Qing'er? Zhang Wanqing also felt a little strange. For more than half a year, she couldn't contact Jiang Tian. Every time, it was Qing'er who answered the phone. In fact, Zhao Xueqing could have avoided it, but she sincerely believed that she didn't take good care of Jiang Tian. She was already full of guilt and didn't want to hide it at this time. Dad, Mom, it's my fault. Jiang Tian had alcohol poisoning once and his brain wasn't very good for a period of time, but it's been cured now. What? Jiang Tian's brain is damaged? It's so serious. No wonder he said such things. His brain isn't normal. Everyone came to a sudden realization and cried out in surprise. They looked at Jiang Tian with a complicated gaze. There was scrutiny, sympathy, ridicule, disdain, gloating, and so on. Zhang Wanqing felt sorry for Jiang Tian. Her face was pale and she was also a little dissatisfied with Qing'er. Jiang Zhixing felt like he was sitting on pins and needles. His son's behavior was really laughable. He was too ignorant and incompetent. He was simply a lunatic. He slammed the table and gritted his teeth. Drinking can damage your brain. What do you want me to say to you? Jiang Tian is not crazy. He's a master. How can he be crazy? Jiang Lin suddenly stood up and spoke for Jiang Tian. Shut up. Second uncle scolded sternly. If he's not crazy, why would he say such nonsense? Jiang Lin's face was bitter and she didn't dare to speak anymore. Jiang Tian, don't talk nonsense, especially at the old man's birthday banquet. Don't attend it. Don't make a fool of yourself. Jiang Shoren's authority was very strong. He suppressed his anger and slammed the table. Jiang Qingfeng looked at Jiang Tian with disdain and snorted in his heart. Trash, now you know the consequences of being arrogant. Jiang Chao didn't forget to add insult to injury. He shook his head and said, I was wondering why he was so arrogant that he didn't even take Yu Chang seriously. It turns out that he is crazy. He even won a sports car from Yu Chang this morning. What? Is he the son of Secretary Yu of the Political and Legal Committee? Everyone turned pale with fright when they heard this. They turned to look at Jiang Tian in unison, their faces filled with disbelief. Isn't that so? Jiang Chao picked his teeth lazily and sneered. When I was gambling on stones, I met young Master Chang a few times. I wanted to introduce him to cousin Qingfeng. But after Yu Chang lost the sports car, his eyes were murderous. Later, I brought brother Qingfeng to 6 Dynasty's residence to find him, but he ignored me. Gua Yinlin was also there. Jiang Chao recounted everything that had happened from beginning to end. Qingfeng, is what Jiang Chao said true? Jiang Shoren asked sternly. It's true. Jiang Qingfeng sighed regretfully. Bang! Jiang Shuren slammed the table and trembled with anger. He pointed at Jiang Tian and said, "This is such a rare opportunity, but it was ruined by this guy. Even Jiang Chao knows how to make friends with them, but you." Great Aunt was so angry that her hands were trembling. Jiang Zhixing quickly said, "Brother, don't worry. Xiao Tian said that he will return the car, he has already offended them." "What's the use of returning it?" Jiang Shuren said angrily. "Why should I return it to him? It's such a simple principle to admit defeat. Uncle, don't you understand? I'm giving him face by accepting a car from him. He can't wait to curry favor with me." Jiang Tian sipped his tea and said leisurely. Jiang Shuren was so angry that his face turned pale. He covered his chest with a painful expression and went to find the small medicine bottle with trembling hands. He almost had a heart attack. "Don't be angry, don't be angry. Don't lower yourself to his level." Great Aunt quickly fed him the medicine. After rubbing his chest for a while, Jiang Shuren's face returned to normal. "How dare you say that your uncle doesn't understand reason? What are you talking about?" Jiang Yangming was so angry that his face turned pale. He pointed at Jiang Tian and said, "You're crazy. Apologize to your uncle now." "That's right. Kid, you have no respect for your elders. You don't even listen to your uncle." Second uncle echoed. "Apologize now." Great Aunt also scolded. "You're not even as good as Jiang Chao. No matter how much of a jerk Jiang Chao is, he just eats, drinks, and plays. He never causes trouble. But what about you? Not only did you offend that Yanjing young master, but now that you're back, you're causing trouble again." Great Aunt's face was full of sorrow and anger. "Jiang Tian, you're really wrong this time." Jiang Qingfeng shook his head and sighed. His eyes were full of schadenfreude. "You won a car, but how much is that? And the losses that will come from offending Yu Chang are immeasurable. You're losing the big picture for the small. Apologize." Jiang Bengxia, Jiang Chao, and the other third-generation descendants roared. They hated Jiang Tian so much that they wanted to pull out his tendons and skin him alive to vent their hatred. "What's wrong with you? Why are you scaring Uncle Jiang Tian?" Jiang Weiner was so scared that she burst into tears. Great Aunt pulled her over and scolded, "Stay away from him in the future. He'll teach you bad things. Apologize now." Many members of the Jiang family looked at Jiang Tian, who was sitting at the end of the table. Their eyes were full of anger, contempt, ridicule, and hatred. Jiang Zhixing was angry and sad at the same time. He was completely disappointed in Jiang Tian. "Jiang Tian, you're too disappointing. How much more trouble are you going to cause? How many times can I help you clean up the mess?" At this time, even Zhang Wanqing was speechless. Jiang Tian's mistake was indeed difficult to make up for and clean up. At this moment, only Zhao Xueqing still stood firmly on Jiang Tian's side. She was about to speak up for him. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian spoke first. "Who does he think he is? Is he worthy of me apologizing to him?" Everyone was stunned, their faces filled with disbelief. They were already used to reprimanding Jiang Tian. They did not expect that Jiang Tian would actually retort so forcefully. Chapter 202. What did you say? Jiang Qingfeng slammed the table angrily. He didn't expect Jiang Tian to openly offend everyone. "After I sat down, I heard all of you talking about currying favor with those in power, climbing up to those in power, and taking advantage of opportunities." Jiang Tian's face was calm. He sipped his tea and said slowly, "But can a big family rely on these to stand tall? You know, to forge iron, one must be strong. Instead of working hard to strengthen oneself, you only know how to climb up the social ladder and borrow the strength of others. Don't you know that if you're not strong enough, the mountains will collapse and the trees will run away? Jiang Tian's words were like a heavy slap to everyone's faces, causing their faces to flush red and feel extremely embarrassed. How could he say something like that? Jiang Zhixing looked at Jiang Tian with a slightly stunned gaze, not daring to believe it. It was as if his heartstrings had been plucked by Jiang Tian's words. He felt a resonance from the depths of his soul. What did you say? Jiang Shuren was dumbfounded and looked at Jiang Tian in a flurry. I said, you're just frogs at the bottom of a well. You don't know the truth of this world. Your methods are just scratching an itch. They can't save the Jiang family. Jiang Tian said calmly. This world is originally a bloody and cruel forest. When you meet a tiger or a lion, it's useless no matter how much you kowtow. You can't change your fate of being eaten. Please work harder and be as tough as my grandfather and my father. Show your sharp fangs and don't kneel anymore. However, at this time, you definitely won't understand. Everything will be left to time. What did you say? Shock, shame, anger, and many other emotions flashed across Jiang Shuren's face. He couldn't believe his ears. Forget it, I'm full. You guys eat slowly. Jiang Tian stood up and Zhao Xueqing immediately followed. Jiang Lin hesitated for a moment before she said softly, I'm full as well. Take your time. Seeing her go out with Jiang Tian, Jiang Yangming shouted, Jiang Lin, what are you doing with him? Come back. But Jiang Tian turned a deaf ear to him. She did not even turn her head back. She straightened her back stubbornly, as if she were a warrior who was ready to die with Jiang Tian. Outside the private kitchen. The vegetation was luxuriant, the air was fresh, and the night was cool like water. The oppressive atmosphere was swept away, causing one's heart to feel extremely carefree. Jiang Tian, what you said just now was really satisfying. Jiang Lin carried her handbag and followed Jiang Tian's footsteps. As they walked towards the parking lot, the waves of shock in her heart gradually calmed down. Seeing that Jiang Tian's expression was a little heavy, Jiang Lin turned her head and whispered, Are you regretting it? You're not afraid, are you? You're contradicting uncle and the others like this. Do you have the confidence to suppress them? Ah. It's not because of them. Jiang Tian looked at her worried face and said with a heavy heart, There's a photographer in Hong Kong who took a lot of photos that are not suitable for children, and they were leaked. One of them is a female celebrity that I like. According to the Gregorian calendar, the year 2008 was already here. Jiang Tian felt as if time was passing by like sand, and time was passing by quickly. On January 28, a photographer with the surname Chen appeared in Hong Kong. Looking at the stunned Jiang Lin, Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, If you have any resources, send them to my email. After Jiang Tian and Qing'er got into the car and drove away, Jiang Lin was still standing there with her eyes wide open. After a while, Jiang Lin's angry roar came from the dimly lit street. Damn it! This time, you almost angered them to death by going all out against them. I was so nervous that I almost died. You still have the mood to think about this? Just how perverted are you? The next morning, the purple chi came from the east. Jiang Tian woke up early and sat cross-legged in the courtyard of the mansion. Jiang Tian, Jiang Zhixing walked over and sipped tea from a purple sand cup. What's the matter, Dad? Jiang Tian opened his eyes, exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, and sized up his father. What you said yesterday was very true. It could be said that it was very domineering and penetrating. Jiang Zhixing said a little bashfully, I shouldn't have said that, but you know. I'm just trying to unite our family. The next moment, he was a little angry again. But some things have to be said under different circumstances. You have to learn how to behave. Can't you be a little more mature? Oh, I'll remember. Jiang Tian's eyes were as clear as a lake in autumn. Besides, you know what I mean, but it's still a problem to put it into practice. You have to make some achievements. Seeing Jiang Tian's disapproving look, Jiang Zhixing immediately raised his voice and lectured him earnestly, "If you don't make any achievements, these words are all nonsense. They are all empty words. Also, at the old master's birthday banquet, you must be more sensible. Greet all your friends well, be polite, and neither servile nor overbearing. Also, you must apologize to your grandfather and beg for his forgiveness. If you do well, I'll reward you with a sports car." I know. Jiang Tian was annoyed. His father had liked to nag him since he was in elementary school. In the next few days, the Jiang family took action in all aspects. They sent out invitations, booked banquets, and decorated the venue. It was very lively. However, other than his parents, no one else in the Jiang family got in touch with Jiang Tian. It seemed that the younger generation had been strictly forbidden by their parents to get in touch with Jiang Tian. A crack appeared between Jiang Tian and the Jiang family. As for Jiang Tian, he didn't care about it at all. He strolled around with Xiao Xueqing and tasted the snacks. Finally, on this day, the 70th birthday banquet of Jiang Changgang, the master of Chinese medicine in Lingnan, was about to be held. The Jiang Manor under Qixia County was participating in his grandfather's birthday banquet. The Jiang family had been practicing medicine for generations. Jiang Changgang graduated from the Jinling Academy of Traditional Chinese Medicine. He worked in the Jinling Academy of Traditional Chinese Medicine, the Jiangsu Province Traditional Chinese Medicine Association, the Provincial Health Department, and the Provincial Health Committee. Although his position wasn't high, the Provincial Health Committee was a small imperial medical hall in Jiangsu Province that specialized in providing medical services to the provincial leaders. His medical skills were superb, and his medical ethics were noble. He formed deep friendships with many leaders. The Jiang family relied on a few prescriptions to grow into the famous Medicine King group. Zhang Wanqing's ability in business was needless to say, but Jiang Changgang's connections in the province were indispensable. Because of Jiang Changgang's connections in Jinling and the Medicine King group, the descendants of the Jiang family also developed well. Many of them held important positions in the province, and with Jiang Changgang as the core, they formed the Jiang family of Jinling. Although the Jiang family only had a few decades of history and wasn't considered a top family, they were at least ranked in the top 30 in Jinling. Jiang Changgang was an old-school intellectual. He liked Confucius and Mencius. He was honest and paid attention to filial piety. Every year on his birthday, he would hold a birthday banquet in his hometown, Jiang Manor. He would invite the centenarians in the same village to drink a cup of wine and worship the ancestors to remember the ancestors and inspire the younger generation. Around 8 in the morning, Jiang Manor. Many of the younger generation in Jiang Zhuang were able to get a job in the Medicine King group, big or small, and that was a generous salary. As a result, Jiang Manor became a wealthy village. Every family built a small house and drove a car. Their lives were sweeter than honey. Under a big locust tree by the road at the entrance of the village, several strong men in suits and bright red ties, their hair shiny with mousse, stood or squatted, smoking and chatting. Some of them were employees of the Medicine King group while others were laborers in the village. They were here to welcome the guests. Later, if you see a license plate of Lin Zhou, you must stop it. It is most likely Jiang Tian's car. Especially the Chevrolet. A brawny man named Dia Jiang said. His full name was Daong Jiang. His 2 front teeth were very conspicuous, hence his name. He had served in the military for a few years and then became the head of security at the Medicine King group. He married a receptionist and became his wife. In everyone's eyes, Dia Jiang was a man who had been to a big city and had seen the world. He was also the backbone of the village. "Brother Dia, what if he doesn't want to do it?" a young man asked. "Just beat him up." Dia Jiang flashed his buck teeth and said with disdain. "He is the son of the 3rd son of the Jiang family. If we beat him up and the news got out." Everyone looked at each other for a while. "Ha, you guys don't know." This guy is useless in the Jiang family. He has offended the big shots in Yanjin. He has been kicked out of the family by the old man. Dia Jiang took out a plastic comb and combed his parted hair. He said with disdain, he hasn't attended the old man's birthday party for 3 years. Don't you guys know? Everyone nodded to show that they knew. Since he was kicked out of the family, he should have taken his mother's last name. He is no longer a member of the Jiang family. Dia Jiang tidied his hair meticulously, then shook his head and said disdainfully as if he knew what was going on. He is no better than a dog in the Jiang family. He has no right to attend the banquet. I don't know what's wrong with him this year, but he insisted on coming back. The old man even agreed. The old man spoils him too much. If you ask me, a troublemaker like him should just break his legs and forbid him from entering the Jiang family, a man said angrily. Jiang Tian once went back to the farm for a vacation and climbed through their window to peek at his wife taking a bath. At that time, Jiang Tian was already 13 or 14 years old. He was not a child anymore. That made him feel bad. Anyway, young Master Qing Feng said that whoever stops Jiang Tian will be rewarded handsomely. Dia Jiang opened the trunk of the car next to him, opened a box of soft Zhonghua cigarettes and threw one to each of them. The men were beaming with joy. Suddenly, one of them pointed at a Chevrolet speeding towards them and said, "Eh. Lin Zhou's license plate. Jiang Tian, it's Jiang Tian." Those with good eyesight had already seen the delicate face in the back seat. "Stop the car. Stop the car." Dia Jiang took the lead and rushed over. He stretched out his arms and said arrogantly, "What are they doing?" Shen Mange, who was driving, looked suspicious. "Turn off the engine." Jiang Tian said calmly, "My grandfather said that when the Jiang family arrives at the entrance of Jiang village, they must get off the car and walk. This is to show how much they value their hometown." Shen Mange stopped the car. Jiang Tian got off the car and walked forward hand in hand with Zhao Xueqing. "Don't go in." Dia Jiang said arrogantly, "You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.